The intro is happening right now, and it's already over because you already know what's happening. We're going over the stuff from the past month. With the movie section is first up usually, and that was also going to happen now today because we're not gonna do anything any differently. Because why would we? We have the formula, we perfected it, and that's the way it is now and forever. No need to adjust it ever. So you've seen
I,
movies recently, haven't you?
I have, which is, I guess, throwing a
Ooh,
wrench in that routine that we've been having.
ooh.
But I have some that I can talk about, and I would like to start with the film that I got to check out in theaters, that being Backrooms, was just came out
uh,
recently. Um, a pretty well-known adaptation of this kind of liminal horror web series that kind of branched off into a ton of internet fandoms and kind of became a bit of a staple in internet culture. And then seeing this get picked up by A24 and seeing the trailers come out, I was definitely intrigued by this movie even before it came out. I
mhm.
will admit I had pretty low expectations of it. I didn't really think it would be possible to pull off something like this in the form of a movie. Um, but I'm pleasantly surprised by it, and I'm glad to say that I am. It's a interesting debut from young director Kane Parsons, also kind of in the media cycle as a very young figure. But I'd say that I think there's a lot to appreciate here. It's a little weak in its writing and some of its exploration of the kind of themes that it's trying to match up with this horror, this analog horror and liminal horror that is kind of suffused in the backroom setting. But other than that, I think it's a little bogged down by some cliche and some like contrivances in the character writing, but the actual horror itself and the really unique feeling that you're going to get from this is worth watching for, I'd say, even though it may not be the best horror movie I've ever seen.
Hmm. Yeah, this film is interesting. 'Cause, it's started off, or at least the concept, as like a what 4chan post or something, and then
Yeah,
it spawned off the whole. Is this what caused SCP, or is that not
they're
directly
kind of
related?
entwined.
Yeah.
It's not directly related, but definitely similar kind of horror
Yeah,
elements to
the
it.
Backrooms has its own huge thing going on the
Hmm.
internet and liminal spaces and whatnot. So it's interesting to see sort of Hollywood go after it in some way and overall succeed and not just make a pile of garbage from my understanding in your description of it.
Hmm.
It's better than the Emoji Movie, I guess, in the sense that like they're taking some concept that's like popular and then trying to make a film around it. This one seems like it's more specific, and it seems like this more specific dude, Kane Parsons, who is quote YouTuber, but he was just RLM said it best, where they were like, YouTube is just the modern platform to share videos and whatnot.
Hmm.
So he's not technically
Exactly.
a YouTuber in the traditional sense, where he's trying to monetize himself and like make money and stuff. He's just uploading his short films through that website. So,
Hmm.
but it's interesting, and I was hesitant to think about checking this one out, but I might. I think so. Um,
It's definitely closer to art than it is to content,
to
which I
fart.
kind of I appreciate.
No, yeah, that's
There are
good.
some great shots. The soundtrack is all great. It's a very kind of reserved horror to it. It's not in your face. There are some jump scares, but generally it's just about setting the tone of unease and kind of loneliness and isolation. Really cool. Not super common for a lot of horror movies that at least I check out, but definitely room to grow.
Nice. I also saw a film from this year, that being The Drama, which is a film about a couple who, like, I mean, you see the sort of the very start of their relationship. It's like almost sort of a meet cute vaguely, I guess. And then, you see them as they're about to get married and their wedding and like a little bit after, I guess. And it's interesting for a whole assortment of reasons. There's a lot of twists. There's really one main twist in there that is very out there and is very modernly. it's like aligned with modern times of issues in the present day America, I guess you could say. And again, it's very interesting. It's very unexpected. The editing is very fun and stands out a lot. And it's sort of a dark comedy, I guess. It's funny at times and dark at times. So I guess that's what you would call a dark comedy if it could do both at the same time in one film. It is a little too long though, which is interesting because it's only 105 minutes, but even so, it does seem to meander a little bit, and especially in the second half, it feels like we're seeing scenes that we've already sort of gotten the gist of from earlier scenes in the film. Like once the twist happens, there's like, that results in stuff that happens, but then the stuff that it results in sort of it just trips over itself and seems like it does multiple times almost. And then the actual relationship going on is like, it's a little bit more show than tell when it comes to the believability of them as a couple. Like, again, you get a little bit with them early on. And that's supposed to be enough to carry you through sort of the rest of the film. But I think they could have done perhaps a little bit more in that regard for building it up and making so that by the point the twist happens, there's a little bit of more reason for one of them to continue to try to stay with the other or to not stay with the other, like for that discussion or topic or thought process that the audience member would be going through to be a bit more impactful there. So, but I think it's very good overall. Again, the editing is a lot of fun. And it's a really weird, it is in some regard uncomfortable because again, the modern day politics of it, but it's still interesting and surprising. And I'd say fun overall. Again, it's also dark and weird, but like it knows how to have its fun at moments too. So it's a very interesting film and it's very good overall, I'd say.
Yeah. Have you checked out the director's other film? I know I've only checked out Dream Scenario from
No,
him.
I've not yet. Yeah. No, have you?
I did, and it sounds similar. I've heard great things about the drama, so I definitely need to check it out. But seems like he likes going for that kind of awkward, cringe-inducing kind of
yeah, there's a handful of awkward moments in this one.
That sounds very cool. I have seen more than just one film this week or this month, so I can talk about one that I checked out called Havre from this. I believe he's Finnish film director, and it's a movie about old shoe shiner who comes across a African refugee and kind of the hijinks that ensue about him trying to protect him from the police and trying to avoid deportation. It's an interesting blend of I think I said Wes Anderson and Roy Anderson in that kind of filmmaking style where it's very kind of beautiful and stylistic shot making in addition to a really kind of dry and empathetic humor about it. I really like the sense of humor in general. It's kind of very very hopeful and encouraging, but also very dry. A lot of the characters are a little wooden and flat, but in that way I compare it to something like Roy Anderson, where it's less about how believable the characters are and more about the situations that they're going through. Definitely worth checking out. I also checked out one of his films that came out more recently, Fallen Leaves, and I remember really loving that. So definitely a director that I want to go through more of his stuff.
Is that how you found out about this one? You'd seen Fallen Leaves and you liked it, and you went through his filmography, or you
honestly
heard of it
no
different means?
We were just I watched this with our friend Seth, and he just wanted to click on it because it had a French title and he thought it was a French director.
That was it.
It turns out it is not related at all, but it was definitely cool and worth checking out, so I'm glad we did.
No, yeah, nice. It's specific, and obviously you don't hear too many people mention it on Letterboxd alone. It only has 50,000 views or viewers, so it's It's a small number, somewhat, I guess.
Gotta pump those numbers up.
Exactly. I saw another one. This one is called A Prairie Home Companion. It's named after the radio show that was a thing that existed, I guess, and it's supposed to be like not a documentary, but and not like a biopic either, but like a fucking fictionalized version of real stuff that happened. So it's just it's Robert Altman is the director, and I think this is the last one that he did. Let me double check that, sort by release date. Yeah, so it's the last movie that he did, and Robert Altman is a director that I like a lot. He makes a lot of really good films, often long, that can have sort of a wide range of characters. There's a lot of his are sort of ensemble based, and a lot of his stuff is about America and about like all the good and the bad of American historical stuff, and looking at it through sort of different decades over time through the course of like each films that he's done. And this is like also sort of that, where it's a very American thing. It's I assume he just made it because he loved this fucking radio show thing. And it feels like I haven't read the books 4, 5, or 6 of Dune, but this is what I like imagine it would be, where it's like the like a genius sort of growing old and like going a little bit crazy and like not sort of losing it a little bit, because like this movie has none of the sauce that his other really cool films possess. This one's also overly long, even though it's less than 2 hours, and it's repetitive in the sense that like there's a lot of musical acts because it's a radio show, and they invite guests on to sing and like do stuff, but it's like so much of that, and it doesn't really feel like there's anything else happening. Like I didn't really gain anything from this film. Meanwhile, a ton of his other stuff, like Shortcuts, or what the fuck is the one? Manhattan? No, not Manhattan. Nashville. Goddamn. Stuff like that, where it's bigger and grander, and like there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's more interesting. And this, it's all I don't know if he's challenging himself, or if he's just old and he wants to be a little bit more limited, because it's all essentially taking place in this like one stage. So you just see the stage, and behind the scenes they're talking and doing stuff, and there's like some drama, but it's like nothing immensely interesting. Like nobody gives a shit about this radio show, probably, except for him. So it's just like a passion project, I guess, that he went out with. There's definitely worse movies that could have been your last, but it's just sort of I don't know. It's an uninteresting one, I guess. I would only recommend it to people who really like Altman stuff, but even then, it's quite different, and it's a bit of a drop off, I would say, in terms of quality and actually interesting things going on. But it's a film that I saw, so I'm mentioning it here.
I feel like I need to get more into his filmography, because he's got diehards, and like a lot of people consider him like one of the best directors ever, and like
awesome.
Certainly one of the best American directors.
Yeah.
I've only watched a couple, like The Long Goodbye and Gosford Park, and those feel like it's not a great Rorschach test of what he is as a detective. I still don't know if I have experienced that quintessential movie from him, because I've heard Nashville is more in that line.
That's like the embodiment of who he is, or like what he is.
Yeah.
I feel like, or that's like his identity. I mean, like Gosford Park, you get the ensemble bit, and then The Long Goodbye, you get like the American stuff going on, and it's also sort of, it's like obviously there's a main character, but it's with it being like a noirish story, you get a lot of reoccurring characters and stuff like that. So those are both really good films, though. And he's also done Shortcuts and what was the other one I was just looking at? I haven't seen California Split yet, but McCabe and Mrs. Miller is a really good one. It's a Western about people like making a town and shit. It's pretty awesome.
A lot of movies.
Yeah. Oh, he also did the film version of MASH, which is very dated and unfunny. It's the worst thing a comedy can be, Peter. Both
that is
offensive and unfunny.
Look at it as a historic capsule, perhaps.
Oh yeah, well that's yes.
On my end, another movie to talk about is, I believe you have checked this one out, called Tampopo,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yeah.
a kind of interesting Japanese film that is all about food and our relationship to it. It's very kind of funny and stylized, really playful and almost childlike in its depiction of things, but the actual themes that it's exploring are very kind of mature and sometimes off-putting. Like there are definitely some
Mm-hmm.
scenes in this that are very it's hard to explain, but the way that it portrays food and eating is very visceral and sometimes intimate, sensual. It's definitely a really cool movie. I think the overall format of it, that being like an overarching narrative that is split up and interspliced with different kind of vignettes or episodes, all dealing with food and other things relating to food.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of interesting. I haven't seen any of the director's other stuff, but I've heard good things. Definitely interested to see if that this is sort of his consistent style. But yeah, I think the things that were holding it back for me was just it was a very cheap movie to make from what I understand. It was
Mm-hmm.
very much like kind of basically made for free, just filming as could be. And I think it feels a little cheap in that way, but it's also part of the style and kind of adds to the charm of it. So I wouldn't say to remove it. It's just an interesting movie that I think has some rough edges, but it's definitely kind of like a diamond in the rough situation because I did really enjoy it.
No, this film is awesome. If you've only seen American media, this one will stick out a lot because it's just so different. Um,
It is.
but I like this film for a lot of reasons. I mean, pretty much everything you said. I like the idea of like, as a guy who watches more anime than live action Japanese stuff, it's interesting to see certain tropes that are defined
Mm-hmm.
as anime tropes, but really they're Japanese as a whole. Like in this, you have the whole like fucking enemies to friends, like when he defeats
Mm-hmm.
them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they like become friends for the rest of the movie. That's in every
Yeah,
single
and
fucking
sidekicks. Yep.
shonen action adventure ever, and it's also in this 1985 live action film. It's an idea like that. I guess is just so ingrained, and there's just I don't know where it comes from for Japan specifically, but they love it.
It's just part of the
And so do
culture.
I, because it's pretty cool
Mm-hmm.
when it happens in this film. But yeah, like you said, it's very funny. It's very out there. I do think it there's like a certain something. If it's in the budget, then that's one thing. But I don't know if I perhaps had that observation while watching. I saw it
Mm-hmm.
about maybe 4 years or so ago now, and it's probably something that I'll rewatch at some point in the future because it's just that unique and overall enjoyable.
Yeah, it does seem like there's a ton to kind of peel back and explore over multiple viewings. Um, there's definitely this movie had me thinking about it more than any other movie
Hmm.
about acting out eating and like how many takes and like are they actually eating? Like you can definitely tell sometimes when they're on screen and they're not actually eating, but sometimes I have to assume they just ate like an entire bowl of ramen for certain shots. So
Yeah,
I kind of it kind of makes you want to be in a movie like this and enjoy some of the food. So it's effective in that way.
hell yeah. I got another interesting film to talk about from the 80s that I think you've seen. It's called True Stories. It's a film by David Byrne, who's most known for being the sort of front man of Talking Heads. Um, and this is like a musical film thing that does it's not initially clear that it's a musical. I actually had no idea. I mean, like I just should have known because it's David Byrne and what else does he
Hmm.
do other than music? That's sort of what he specializes in. And so when the first like musical scene happened, I'm like, oh shit, this is interesting. What's going on? Um, and as a whole, I think it succeeds as a musical. I mean, it's essentially one of the Talking Heads' albums, or is it a greatest hits? I have no idea if it's from just one album specifically or picked from A couple of them I'm not familiar enough, nor did I do the research. I don't know if you know.
It's an original soundtrack.
Oh,
Actually.
okay. Did they made all the songs for this film?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because they got some of their most popular songs are ones that
Oh,
I guess
that could be. There's perhaps some other film, other stuff from their discography, but
I don't remember.
I definitely have. I often come back to listening to this specific soundtrack that they made because I like it a lot.
No, yeah, it's awesome. And the musical scenes that accompany it are a lot of fun as well. It's really interesting. Like this film as a whole is very interesting for a number of reasons. Like for one, its plot is actually there's not really anything. There's not really any plot. Like the B plot is the A plot, which is John Goodman trying to find a wife. It starts off as like a side thing, is like David Byrne is like showing off the town or whatever and like narrating, and then that kind of goes away, and then the ending is like, oh, John Goodman's getting married. It's like I guess they didn't know what else to do or how to end it, so it's just that's the main thing going on now, which I'm not too terribly upset by. Again, I think it's got a really, I'm saying interesting a lot. It's got a lot of interesting things going on with it, with David Byrne in a cowboy hat fucking talking to the narrator for like maybe a total of like 10-20 minutes, I don't know, and then other characters also narrating their lives and like going over, hey, here's what's going on with me, and you get some like quirky, like sort of an overall quirky cast of characters, both in terms of how they're behaving and their outfits, and it's just a lot of fun overall. This film, it's very lighthearted. It's very easy to watch. It's only 90 minutes long. And obviously, if you like Talking Heads is just as a band or their music, then you'll probably get something out of this. So it's something I would recommend, even though if
Absolutely.
as a film, if you're like seeking a typical film narrative, rising action, falling action, or like shit like that, you're not going to get it in this, just to be clear. But even still, despite that, I think there's still enough in here to check that's makes it worth checking out.
Yeah, it's definitely like a cool kind of whimsical. It's almost told episodically because it's following like different musical moments and then split up with weird kind of narrative ramblings. I really like the writing and the humor in this.
No, yeah.
It's just all fits together in this one cohesive package, which is very strange package and kind of off-putting and off-kilter, but it's very fun, kind of comforting and empathetic. It's very cool. Kind of wish David Byrne did more things because I've seen him start to do musicals and shows and theater, so it seems like he's doing that more recently, but he's like a true creative and artist and like the truest sense of the word, I'd say.
Yeah, totally.
Unfortunately, I can't give those compliments to the next movie I watched, which was the newest DC movie, the Supergirl one that just came out in the James Gunn universe. This one not directed by James Gunn, directed by Craig Gillespie, who has interesting filmography. This was just not a great movie. Unfortunate, because I did really enjoy the Superman movie that came out. I thought that was a fresh take on a bit of a stale comic genre. It's probably my favorite depiction of Superman in a long time. And I had those expectations, and unfortunately they were not met in this newest Supergirl. This one feels really bland and uninteresting, which is it feels kind of bad because I ended up reading the comic that this story is adapted from, and I'll talk about that more when we get to our book section, but it's just much better. A lot of the changes they made don't feel like they were made for the right reasons, or definitely took away from the themes or the great like kind of art moments that are in the book. It looks pretty bland. The color grading is not as visually interesting as the Superman that just came out, and it's pretty standard, I'd say. The actual kind of storyline that this is based off of is essentially sort of kind of take on a True Grit style of, kind of child has her family killed and she's trying to find a bounty hunter to kill the killer and get revenge on them, and Supergirl ends up becoming this bounty hunter for her, and they go on various different escapades, and really she's trying to impart the lesson of, revenge is bad, but the movie kind of misses that mark. It's the humor really did not land for me. The relationship between the two leads was not great and kind of ham-fisted. I personally hate the sort of precocious tag-along child character that is, very tropey. Really don't buy it a lot of the time, and I didn't buy it in this one. No shade to the actress, but I just think the writing was not great, which is, again, is crazy considering that the book that I read was much better. Not one of my favorite comics, but definitely I can see why people really like it, and I could not see that in this movie, unfortunately. Just really kind of unmemorable. The villain, they absolutely butchered. The comic book character is so interesting because he's really kind of a nobody, a nothing, and then in this one he's just some ripped from Guardians of the Galaxy B-plot villain, and it's not threatening even though he tries to be. It's very kind of uninteresting and bland. Hope they can turn it around with whatever they have planned for the DC, because I like those comics and I like the Superman one, but I guess I hate girls or something like that.
Bro, you hate stories that try to, because there's like a sex trafficker villain, right?
Yeah.
Bro, you fucking love sex traffickers. You support them if you hate this film.
It's definitely tough because the discourse around this movie is ass. It's garbage. There is a ton of just culture war bullshit surrounding this, and I'd like going after any of the actresses or writers about like what they have said or believe, or even just for existing, is stupid. So let me be clear that that does not cause the movie to be bad. It is bad for separate reasons. And even worse than bad, it's just unmemorable. It's not really, there are some good scenes. The action is sometimes cool. There are some good effects. The performances are all solid. But yeah, everything that you kind of want from a superhero movie at this point, this is just a hollow imitation of it. It's kind of sad, but like I said, hopefully they can turn it around.
I don't know if I'll check this one out, because like the reason why I was so drawn to Superman is because it stuck out and it felt like it felt like such a strong leap in the right direction for superhero films, especially for DC, because it's actually good for one, but then also it's leaning more into the comic book isms. It's having a little bit more fun, just like with its characters and with like the whole idea of the way in which everything happens, and it's not such like a bleak, dark, edgy version of it all. But to know that this sort of goes back to not necessarily the Zack Snyder-ness, but like if it's unrecognizable compared to the Marvel slop of the modern era, or if it could be compared directly to that, or would you say that?
This is definitely more comparable to that. Like it feels
not so good.
It feels very much like it's trying to be a Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Oh, okay.
Like the general story of the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow storyline is like a sci-fi kind of globe-trotting adventure. So it makes sense, but really it just feels super blatant in how they're trying to portray it in theaters and like in the cinematic sense, because the choices that they made, and it's very much kind of trying to emulate the needle drop moments of a James Gunn movie. those don't work. It's kind of well known at this point that there's a terrible cover, which is just used very poorly towards the end of this movie. Even though, you know, no hate to the music artists, it's just really kind of mismanaged in general.
Okay.
And yeah, definitely. It also is like trying to be edgy, because like Supergirl is not Superman. She's not a goody two shoes. She's drinking, and she's like a drunkard, and she's trying to avoid her feelings and her responsibilities because she lost everyone she knows, and you know, suffering intense tragedy. But it just doesn't land because the tone of the filmmaking and the censorship of, you know, language and violence just makes this movie feel really PG, even though it's trying to be kind of more than that. And it really kind of just gets under my skin in that kind of tonal dissonance. But yeah, I've ragged on it enough already.
Yeah, nice. Well, I have free will, so I'll decide not to watch this film probably.
Congratulations.
Unlike you and all the other bandwagoners, oh, it's a new superhero movie. I need to see it, or else I'm not part of the conversation. But it's good to talk about these things, anyways, because you know, in the modern landscape, they get flipped so easily. Where you have Superman, and then which was good and completely different from what came before it for especially DC, and then now it's back in the fucking mud or some other analogy. I have another film to mention, though, specifically one where the director also played the main character, and that's called High Plains Drifter from 1973. It's a Clint Eastwood movie. And I feel like there's no better way to describe this film than to just read the letterbox description, which is: a gun-fighting stranger comes to a small settlement of Lago. After gunning down 3 gunmen who tried to kill him, the townsfolk decide to hire the stranger to hold off 3 outlaws who are on their way. So you read that description and you think, oh, okay, so Clint Eastwood's playing another sort of mysterious, quiet, silent, stoic badass who's going to defend these town people and save the day and maybe get the girl or just ride off into the sunset in like the, you know, whatever badass, stoic way and stuff. But like, it's not that at all. He's played characters like that before. He's played characters where there's either like moral grayness or like absence of direct good, but he's like sort of doing good. You know what I mean? And this feels like a very intentional spin on that, where he's taken those sort of roles that he's played before and sort of just messing with it, because it's essentially like you're hiring a stranger to defend you after you just shot a bunch of bad guys. So surely he cannot be worse than them. But it's like, what if the person you hired to defend you is like the worst person ever? Then you get like essentially this film. It's really interesting, and it goes in a lot of places, and it gets pretty dark. And it's as far as Westerns go, there's I would say overall perhaps less interpretability and sort of thought processes after seeing the film for the viewer to have, like, because there's usually at least a theme or two that they want you to be left with, but beyond that, there's not much like character complexity and stuff. Like usually that's not required because that's not really what the genre is. But this is one where it does have that, where it has a character who's mysterious beyond just being that sort of archetype I just described earlier. And so it's really interesting, and it leaves you with something, and it leaves you with, you know, questions to be had and stuff to think about. So I think it's something unique to the genre, and it even stands out within Clint Eastwood cowboy films. And he's done a lot of those, and he's done a lot of really good ones. And he's also directed a lot of good movies, and this one I would say even stands out with within all that. So even with the competition being so high, High Plains Drifter is one that stands amongst them.
I definitely need to check it out. I need to check out more Westerns, period, and more Clint Eastwood films, period. Even more of his directed stuff, because I've seen only a couple, I think. But yeah, he's obviously a figure that needs no introduction. So hearing that this is an interesting take on, you know, his archetypes and his style definitely makes me want to check it out. So My final film that I want to check out or talk about is another DC movie, one that I checked out because it was the one blank spot that I had on the Snyderverse, the remnants of the DC universe from way back when. I've been experiencing this new James Gunverse, and I thought I had to complete my watching of the Snyderverse, and that final film that I had to check out was, of course, the penultimate Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh my
the,
god.
the one that I had watched the original
Yes.
when I think it might have been in theaters or close to when it originally came out. And yeah, did not like that movie. Ass. It's awful, terrible. Really kind of brutal mismanagement of a film that, you know, was wrested from Zack Snyder's hands because of tragic loss in his family, and kind of given to Joss Whedon, kind of director for hire, to kind of re-edit and kind of almost rebrand the Snyder universe.
Redo a big chunk of the film.
It is very kind of ton of rewrites and re-editing, and a lot was cut from the stuff that they had for Zack Snyder's vision of the movie. And long story short, it bombed. The original theatrical release was not well received, either critically or by fans, and it pretty much put the nail in the coffin that this would be largely the end of the DC universe helmed by Zack Snyder. But long story short, there was enough of his diehard fans to raise a ruckus online in order to get him the creative direction to put his own version of the movie out. And eventually they relented and they allowed him to, I think they gave him some money to finish up the film and essentially release it onto streaming and give them the final product. And I remember when it first came out, people were loving it, and I saw a ton of great reception. It was very well received, and that kind of made me interested to check it out. But the big caveat was that the 4-hour runtime definitely put me off. It is a little much to expect me to just dive into a movie for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And when the original kind of version that I checked out, the theatrical version, was poopy butt from a diaper, was complete dog, I didn't really want to check out 4 hours of a potentially much better version.
Twice the amount of shit. It's like, bro, I already fucking gobbled all that up. Don't maybe we could do more. No.
Exactly.
You know,
so I put it off. I put it well off, and now 5 years later from when it originally released, I just had to check it out. And yeah, unfortunately, the expectations that I had were not met. You know, the rating on this is a 3.4 on Letterboxd right now, which I think is just incredibly blown out of proportion, because this movie, while better, is not that much better. And it's bad for different reasons. It's bad because it's 4 hours long and it's expecting me to be invested in setting up an entire universe of things in one movie. It's so, oh my goodness, it's so infuriating and insufferable in how much it's trying to do, because there was no plan for the DC universe in the beginning, and they just needed to get an Avengers level team up, and just it feels so ham-fisted. There are things to appreciate about it, of course. It just flows much better. It makes a lot more sense because there's a ton more time given to develop characters and kind of give them proper reasons for doing anything. It is really insane to see how much Ray Fisher was shafted as Cyborg in the original version.
No, I know, he like barely existed in the original.
It was really, really bad. And now he's like a really cool character, and that's great. Love that for him. But damn, it's 4 hours. 4 hours is so insane to expect me to sit down for this. It's not that interesting. It's still kind of drenched in this overwhelming edge. The Snyderverse is so melodramatic and uninteresting. There's no heart. it's so it's
But
just
there's
so
no soul.
masturbatory. It's so like, oh, they're gods. The superheroes are gods. Imagine if they were in our world and they could do all this stuff. It's
Oh,
crazy.
that'd be so epic.
Like, yeah, that's interesting as like a thought experiment, but to actually see it on screen is just so unenthusiastic and uninteresting to me. It really kind of sucks because this has been how the DC has been portrayed for like, I don't know, like a decade now. No, not quite, because there's been the Batman movies, but for a lot of people this is, you know, the only kind of version of the Justice League, at least, that they've seen. And man, is it just not fun. Superman, comparing this version of Superman to James Gunn version is just night and day. I liked Henry Cavill as an actor and as like the vision of Superman. He looks great, but damn, is his character so uninteresting and bland and so melodramatic. Oh, it's really not fun. I didn't like watching this movie. There are, of course, certain shots that look great. Zack Snyder is very good at kind of framing effective and evocative imagery, but I don't know if he's great at much else beyond that. The writing all feels super out of place. Like, characters will just do whatever for the sake of the movie. There's not much characterization done with each of them. They kind of all feel like they could take each other's place. Batman is a terrible Batman. I hate this version of him. He's my favorite character. Sure, Ben Affleck could have been a great Bruce Wayne or Batman or whatever, but unfortunately it's just ham-fisted by, oh, what if he was cool and dark and edgy? It's like, that's not what makes Batman interesting. It never has been. It's always been about how his integrity is core to everything about him, and he's incredibly stubborn and driven, and it's just does not come apparent. It's very not apparent in this one. Flash, awful. I hate this depiction of him. Barry Allen is the most like grating side kind of comic relief character of all time. Ezra Miller is terrible as them. It's really but so funny that they still got the Flash out after this. I guess, yeah. Oh my goodness,
That's wild.
I just, this movie made me start thinking about the whole Snyderverse.
Yeah,
and
brought you all back.
how it was handled, and it just it made me mad. And like to see this film be so well received by people, I just have to wonder, like, how is it because the bar was so low, or is it just because he does have those diehard fans that will, you know, dox everyone involved and threaten their lives just to be able to get this movie out? It's like, oh my god, what a mess. 4 hours. It's just, there are some things to appreciate about it, sure, but 4 hours. Never. Come on. This was supposed to be one movie. How is this ever supposed to be released? This could have for sure been released as like a part 1, part 2, I suppose.
Or like a fucking mini-series or some shit.
But damn, just like do your homework and do the solo films first to set up the characters. That would have been super understandable. I just think there wasn't enough support for that. It definitely was ham-fisted by, you know, the
studio execs,
board of directors, or whoever the creative kind of helmed this was, or not creative helm, I guess. But yeah, not good. It's just like, it's an improvement, sure, but not at all worth spending 4 hours watching this. It felt very repetitive, a lot of slow-mo, a lot of uninteresting dialogue. Oh my goodness, I had completely forgot that like Lex Luthor, Jesse Eisenberg's character, is in the movie, and I thought there's so many moments of this that are so bad and so like it's just 4 hours of content, and the majority of it is bad, and some of it is laughably bad, some of it is just uninteresting, and the rest of it is actually cool. So take that as you will. Have you watched this one?
Oh yeah. So you know, the thing about it is, like, Is Zack Snyder's Justice League better than the 2017
Yes.
version? Like, yeah, 100%. But
Hmm.
the fucking 2017 version is like the biggest piece of shit. It just like doesn't make sense. It's poorly paced. Like all the characters suck and are just boring and uninteresting. And in this cut of the film, you get more of that. You get more of the justifications to how they all are meeting up and how they're all living lives before, and then like now they're together and they're like having different conversations. It does feel very heavily though. It's that studio exec decision of, oh, we need to do what fucking Marvel is doing and we need to do it now and without all the fucking build up over years and years. You know what I mean? They're just trying to jump all of that and put it in one movie. And like I just it's very difficult for me to not despise that, right? Because you're taking an art form and it's just purely the business side of it. And I think what people believe is Zack Snyder's bypassing that. He's bringing the art to the business controlled, dominated fucking landscape of the DC films, which I just don't really see. Again, is this cut better? Yes, 100%. If, if the life circumstances went about differently and he was in full control the whole time, it probably would have led to, yes, a better film than the 2017 version. I'm almost certain that could have been a thing that could have happened, and then this version of the film would have never needed to exist. So it is like a spawn of unfortunate circumstances for sure. It still sucks though, and again, like you said, the 4 hours, like, it can't be understated because it's just that long. It's literally just that long of you having to fucking sit through that shit. It's black and white also, which for a superhero film is a little pretentious.
I did not watch the black and white version.
Oh, really? Is there
So-
a color version?
It is colored,
Oh
and
my
it's
God.
it's definitely
Did
definitely
they
more
release
in
both
line with
versions
his
at the
other.
same time, or what?
I think they did, yeah,
Okay.
because he wanted both, and they were like, yeah.
I watched
Or
it the way
I
he
think
intended.
he wanted
Okay.
specifically, yeah, he wanted black and white, and they're like, okay, but yeah, you have to release another version at least.
Well, now we both have reasons to go back to it. I could see the color,
Yeah,
and you could see the
yeah,
black and white
yeah,
version.
Yeah, sure.
Dude, that'd be so sick. And it would be like
Right.
Silent Hill 2. We could figure out which version's better.
Oh yeah,
The color or the black and white. Not the fucking 2017 versus 2021. We already know the answer to that.
Yeah,
Is
that
the
one's a
black and
more
white better than
definitive
the
answer.
color? Oh my God. Yeah, no, this movie sucks. It just feels like a pile of like, I mean, the 2017 version more so. It feels like a pile of just like a bunch of ideas, a bunch of like, again, because they're comic book characters and they've existed, for like 50 years or more by that point, each of the fucking main six dudes. And so it just feels like a bunch of hodgepodge of random ideas, and there's no organization and there's no leadership. Both, I guess, literally in the film, but also like for the people actually fucking making it, and it just like a bunch of stupid shit, like Ezra Miller being like a not very good person in real life, and just like random stuff like that. Gal Gadot supporting Israel. Oh, not to get political. Just like random. There's just a lot of stuff about it.
Mess.
No, yeah, and it's like you said. I don't know the comic book characters as much as you, but it is definitely like a butchering of the characters, which again,
it started from the
Superman stood out so much.
Yeah,
The
like
newer
Man of
film.
Steel was just a crazy take, and as much as some people like that movie for having a take and like being in an interesting direction to look at it,
Sure.
it's just how everything was followed up with. I think it went from Man of Steel straight to Batman v Superman, right?
Yeah.
Which tried to introduce Wonder Woman and also killed off Superman, and it just felt like there was no cohesive plan as usual. People just saw what Marvel is doing and immediately rushed to try and replicate that. And best thing I can say about Zack Snyder is he has a style. It is
He has a
attractive to
style.
some people.
Yes,
It-
that some
it is-
people like.
I could say that this is closer to the art than content on the spectrum, but unfortunately it just is closer to bad than it is good. So
That's fair.
I don't think I've really loved any of his stuff besides maybe 300, and that is like just purely
Yeah.
kind of visceral, his style, that constant slow-mo trying to look cool. It very much fits in that more than anything else.
Yeah.
He's never been good at writing compelling characters. It seems like he's mostly good at adapting things, and unfortunately,
Yes.
his adaptation of the DC universe just felt like it completely missed the mark. And the 4-hour movie to cap off his tenure with DC definitely did nothing to change my mind about how I feel about him.
No, yeah, he has made good films. I don't think any of his DC stuff is good, unless is Watchmen DC or is that Marvel
Watchmen
or
is
something?
technically DC
Right.
Related, but not.
Yeah, it's not like
not
in the
DC.
main fucking
No.
shits. Because that's a
But
good
it is
film,
comic,
as
yeah.
is 300, and he did a good Dawn of the Dead, like the remake of that. But then yeah, pretty much everything else is probably not good. Now he's done with the superhero stuff. He's moved on to the sci-fi.
The
with
Star Wars,
Rebel Moon.
yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, which was
I've
supposed
not
to
seen
have
those.
how many movies in that series or something like that. But yeah, we'll see if that pans out.
There's 2 of them, at least.
Yeah, it was a part 1 and part 2 to the first movie, I guess.
Oh. He's
I
a
don't
visionary.
think he knows how to rein it in. Like, he just needs to lock in.
Just stop.
He's doing
Just slow
too
down
much.
a little bit.
Yeah. Don't tell him to slow down. He loves his slow mo way too much.
Not like that. Not literally.
Like the entire movie, 50% of the movie is in slow motion. It's actually nuts.
No, yeah. That was my main takeaway from. I guess he didn't direct Wonder Woman, but there was a lot of even in that where he's like not directing the film, but it's still like in the DC shits.
Yeah, which
There's still even a lot of slow
that
one.
Wonder Woman is one of the best things to come out of the DC verse in the Snyderverse, not by him, but like that was an interesting kind of build upon his style and to try to create a sort of identity to
felt
the
Snyder
DC
adjacent.
universe. But I think the best parts of Wonder Woman were how it differed from the rest of his films. So yeah, but not to say anything about Wonder Woman and that sequel that it got, which was better left unsaid.
I guess those are our takes on the Justice League and the Snyderverse version.
Yeah, in a more condensed format, I could talk about
Oh, for
all
sure.
of them, and maybe we'll have to
Peter, there's
create a
there's
ranked
6
series.
hours worth of content to talk about across them. 10 if you include the differences between the color and black and white versions.
I can't wait to eventually be able to
No, let's not do
talk
that.
about
Let's
all
not.
6 hours.
Oh no! But it would be such great content. But it would also just
would.
be such a fucking bitch to sit through. Like I'd rather no. I was about to say I'd rather rewatch all the Fast and Furious films again. I would not.
Yeah, but
rather do
that's
that.
a lot.
That's so.
It's
many.
also a lot.
That's
yeah,
so fucking
yeah.
many. Even though they're fun, I guess. But all of those are more interesting than and fun overall and entertaining. I would say than the Zack Snyder stuff.
And
Not necessarily
to some
better.
Extent,
I want to say
yeah.
the Snyder cut is slightly better than which ones 9 and 10 and maybe 8 also.
Yes, yeah. the later Final Fantasy movies are definitely
Final Fantasy.
Fast and Furious. God, every time.
That's funny. All right. Yeah, that's our film section though. Unless you have anything else
Nope.
under the TVs. Do you have any TV shows?
I can just talk about House of the Dragon, which is airing
shit, you
again.
saw that?
And I've watched the first 2 seasons. Liked them. Thought second season was a little worse. Felt a little kind of stretched out and overly padded. But the beginning to third season has been pretty good. Second episode I thought was great. First episode I thought was good. And this third episode just came out. Also good, but kind of bland. Not a ton happened, but good at setting things up to come. So excited to see what else lays in store. I know what happens in the book, so I mean, no spoilers, but everyone dies. No one makes it to Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire. But yeah, it'll be exciting to see the spectacle and I guess the tragedy of what will unfold in this final season. So worth checking out if you're a fan of Game of Thrones or any of the extended series. I still haven't checked out what is it? Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight
Right.
adaptation series that came out, I think earlier this year or last year. But I've heard good things, so something I need to get on.
Yeah, I've only seen one episode of that show, and I wasn't super into it. And I've also seen the first half of House of Dragon, and it's really difficult for me to just like accept that there's more live action shits going on within the Game of Thrones universe. You know, I'm trying I'm trying to multitask and fix my camera at the same time. Peter's like looking at the ceiling on fucking Discord. This shit's not gonna fucking work. Oh my god, because the Wi-Fi in my room sucks ass. Trust this computer, yes. I've plugged you in a billion times before. You should know that it's trustworthy by now. Because this new fucking app, it uses Wi-Fi for one thing, but then it could also switch to USB, but it doesn't give me that option for, man, what the fuck ever. Peter's just gonna have to look at nothing and just imagine my face because he's got it memorized. But I saw the first half of House of Dragon and the first episode of the fucking Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and part of this is a me problem. It's difficult for me to accept that there exists more live action Game of Thrones adjacent, like same world content beyond the show, because that show is a thing that I have a lot of strong feelings about, covering a whole spectrum of emotions, right? I think half of it is like the peak of television. It's the best show, live action at least, that's ever been made across the history of, as long as people have been recording other people, I guess.
I think that's valid.
Yeah, and then it's got some seasons that are slightly worse than that, and then it's got some that are utterly very much worse than that. And like I don't know, it's just weird. And obviously it makes sense that they're going to try to capitalize on the popularity of the show and the world, and obviously George R.R. Martin's written other side stories, or has he just done like a similarian, whatever what the fuck is the word? Silmarillion, thank you. Has he done something like that where like he has got like a lore book of a bunch of the events that has taken place, or what?
Not as explicitly as Silmarillion, but House of the Dragon, I forget what the actual book is called, but that is almost
a book
told as.
And same with Night of the Seven Kingdoms.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So again, you get the source material there. I mean, you get it's good production design, at least from what I remember, across both of them, with the costumes and the sets and whatnot. It's just difficult again for me.
There's a lot of money in it.
Sit there of like, just like, because in my head I'm just constantly comparing it to this thing it's not as good as Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 4 and the first 5 episodes of the one show and the first episode of the other. So part of it's a me problem. I probably will check out the both of them. I might just rewatch them both from the beginning, at least House of Dragon, because it's been however many years since the first season's come out. Because again, I've heard good things about it from you and from other reliable sources of mine, other mutual friends who like Game of Thrones and also have similar feelings to me about the ending and the later parts of it. So yeah, I mean, I will most likely check it out. I think it's nice and good that you, however, have and you actually like it. That's cool.
Yeah, I definitely, manage your expectations, because it is nowhere near. None of the seasons have been as good as how good Game of Thrones was, but it's definitely enjoyable and engaging in the world again, getting to experience the world building and getting to kind of experience history from things that were referenced in the original series. That's kind of where the joy comes from, and kind of deepens your appreciation for the world of George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, for sure. We'll likely talk about it more in the future someday. Who knows? I did watch some TV shows, though. I have one. Okay, so this was my palate cleanser for Kill la Kill. I was watching Kill la Kill, and I just could not fucking stand it. So I had to, like, every other episode, I had to stop, like, watching that show and instead watch a different show. And every time I watched an episode of that show, I was just like, damn, I wish I could keep watching this, instead of going back to the other thing that I started and made some sort of like weird personal vow to myself that I had to finish the show because I started it, which was Kill la Kill. I talked about it last time. It's stupid or whatever. But this show is really cool. It's called It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And this is maybe the funniest show that I've ever encountered, honestly. I actually finished it. I started it not last month, but the month before. It's got 17 seasons right now, which seems like a shit ton, but each season maybe only has like a dozen episodes or even less episodes per season, and then each episode is only 20 minutes. But it's a very interesting show because it's just about a group of very not good people doing not good things to each other and other people and being like both punished and rewarded for that, but still at the end they have that sort of TV show type endings where everything ends up more or less the same as where it once did. There's definitely like overarching plot points and like when they meet a lot of the side characters and they affect them in certain ways and they come back in later seasons or episodes, they're like still in that state that they once weren't. So it's not like a complete ignoring of episodes that came before, but it's also not one of those, obviously, like one of those shows that's like the narrative is the forefront. It's very much an episodic exploring just the group of people doing just a handful of shitty things, and it's very, very, very funny what you can get away with when you have a group of main characters who are not good people. You can just have them do all this shitty stuff and it not be an advertisement to be like, hey, go do this stuff. It's like not an encouraging thing. You know what I mean? By removing that aspect from it. So you get a lot from this show, and I think it's very funny, and it stands out a lot from many other shows like it. I guess it's a sitcom, right? It's very different from any of those just because of its a comedy and where it goes. And like they get these side characters that feel like the people they hire to play them feel like so authentic and so just like in the zone. And it feels like some of the characters there for just literally like one or maybe two episodes, they feel like they were fucking born for this role. And you feel that sometimes when you like, to go back to Game of Thrones, you feel like it for that where it's, but at least the characters in that are spanning entire seasons or multiple of them, like worth of hour-long, content, story stuff going on. But in this, it's like they're literally there for like 10 minutes and they just fucking embody the whatever random thing they get. So they're able to get really genuine acting out of every role, no matter how minor it is. And the main cast also is rock solid, and it does have that thing that a lot of other shows have, where it's got that sort of not exactly Rocky start, because it does start pretty funny and out there from the beginning. But it has yet to get all of the characters in the exact right spot and to figure out who's who and how are the dynamics and what exactly like the form of their personalities are, and as a whole, like what is this character just in general. But I'd say by like season 3, they figured it out, and from there it really gets going strong, I have to say. More recent seasons, I think season 16 was like COVID stuff, so they get some like it's interesting seeing even like a few years after the fact stuff like that now. It's just interesting. They have season 17. They have a Talk to a parody or talk. What the fuck? Not Talk to is the podcast. Talk to a goddamn. Yeah. They have a Hawk to a parody, which is already very dated and just like it's like almost ironically funny by this point. But they, I don't know. In previous seasons, they don't. I don't think have those dated, more so meme stuff. So to me, if a show is not having that and then relying it more on later seasons, what that would indicate to me is that they're running out of ideas, which I don't know, maybe they are. The thing about binge watching the show for the first time is that a lot of the seasons sort of blend together. So I'm not really sure if there's a cohesive, like over time change and, oh, it's better here and it's worse here. I mean, probably somewhere in the middle is like where it's at its peak or whatever. Overall, I'd say it's a very consistent show though. It's just the Hawk Tuah thing stood out. I'm like, why are we doing this? But then again, I'm watching it in 2026 where it was filmed hopefully 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whenever the fuck that was a thing, and not last year, because that still feels like too far away. You know what I mean?
You would hope.
But I think they're still doing this show. I don't think it's over yet. So I look forward to seeing more of it whenever it comes out. If it's supposed to be yearly or what, I don't really know. I'm not sure.
What was the most recent season?
Season 17 came out. I mean, I could look it up right now. So yeah, most recent was 2025, which was season 17. So and the first episode of season 17 aired in July 9th. So we're coming up on close to, at the time of recording, a year after that. So you would think it would be around now, and it looks like it's a little bit sporadic. I'm browsing the yearly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like season 11 starts in January, and so does 12, and then they're in September and 28th. So who knows? I don't know. There's probably an announcement. Again, I'm a recent fan, so I'm not like itching on the back of the front of my seat. I was going to say the back of my seat. You're not really itching that badly for something if you're on the back of your seat waiting for it. But yeah, again, it's very funny. It's very unique and out there. And, if you could handle stuff being a bit crazy and again out there, then I think it's a very funny show and I would recommend it.
Yeah, I haven't gone back to check out the more recent seasons in a while. Oh, yeah? I remember watching a lot in high school, but kind of just haven't gotten back to it. So good to hear that it's still pretty consistent, even though there is a hawk to a bit, I suppose.
Yeah. Do you have other shows?
I have no other shows
to talk about. You've got no other shows. Okay, I got a couple more. One of them is Beastars. Had its third and final season of the anime. It's a show I like a lot. I think Studio Orange did a really good job with the CG animation, which you don't get too many of those in terms of anime shows with good 3D animation. It's third season here. Like the whole story is very over the top and out there. And it's essentially like a dude in high school quitting high school to like fight the fucking mafia, like the underground, like black market mafia, to like protect his girlfriend or just like be a cool dude or whatever. And like the story is almost really stupid, and I would be more mad at it if the world was less interesting, because they're all animals, right? Like the dude is not just a human high schooler, he's like a wolf. And the actual world as a whole is probably the most interesting about it. It's definitely better than the story as a whole, I'd say. Because like with each episode, there's at least one, if not a couple, world building thingies happening through either the exposition or something in the background, and like some of that may be the characters are not even talking about. It might be the main thing, or it might be just a sort of like a Mars Express, just like this is the way it is that it's happening. It's not being explained to your face. It's just you're seeing it. You know what I mean? Like the way that they have like different fucking seats for all the various sizes of animals and how they adjust for like, and now they have like different just fucking chair sizes, and they have spaces for like the tails and stuff. And it's just like there feels like there's legitimate thought into the visual side, I suppose, of the world, and also like the questions that come from the whole. One of the bigger things is the carnivore versus herbivore side of stuff, and whatever mini allegories you could have that for something in the real world, and it's something that Zootopia tackles or tries to tackle in similar ways. I think this one has a lot more depth to it, because part of that is the length of the story. It's able to go in more directions and in more depth in a lot of ways. So yeah, as a whole, I like the world a lot. The story, like again, it's over the top, and the conclusion of it, I don't think is the greatest thing ever. Like its ending is sort of just like whatever. Like, oh, okay, it ended, I guess. I'm cool with like the main villain of season 3. He's interesting, but like the actual way that like things conclude, it's just like, oh, okay, I guess it's over now. Well, that's fine. It's not the ending you necessarily want to leave your reader, or in this case viewer, with, because I watched the anime. Um, but I guess it's better than the Attack on Titan, or more modern equivalent Chainsaw Man
Hmm.
stuff, where it feels like a betrayal almost. This one is just sort of like, oh, okay, well, it's done, I guess,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
that's fine. Silly things more forgiving. I just said that. Oh, I actually wrote down the chairs example.
Mm.
Fact that yeah, so he literally dropped out of school to fight gangsters. It's very silly. But yeah, it's pretty cool overall. I think it's awesome because you don't even have to be a furry to enjoy it. That's what's truly great about it. You could just be like a normal person, and you could, I don't know, find someone in it, I guess. I don't know if it's like someone I'd recommend for like a person's first anime, because it is a bit out there still. And it's not afraid to be like, look at these sexy animals doing the things of adult things or whatever. So that's is an aspect about it. But again, I think what it really succeeds at is the world building more so than anything else. I think its story is serviceable enough for that, and like just to deliver a unique world and deliver the questions to you of every specific aspect of it. I think it really succeeds at that. So have you read this, or have you
Yeah.
watched this?
So I watched the first season,
Okay.
liked it, ended up reading the rest of the manga because it was already finished at that point. I think it like probably 3 years ago now. And then I haven't kept up with the series though, so I haven't watched season 2 or season 3. But
Okay.
I largely agree with basically everything you said. The biggest kind of attraction to this series is the world building and kind of the themes that it tackles. Definitely agree with what you said. It's just like a more mature Zootopia, and absolutely agree with it. Gets wild, especially in the later kind of chapters or seasons.
Yeah.
It definitely kind of, does a little bit too much. I think I sort of fell off of the series towards the end. Definitely agree what you said. The final villain was kind of a cool character, but it was a bit anticlimactic about how they ended up finishing the series. It just kind of felt like the author was maybe done with it, or was kind of forced into ending it. It didn't seem like it was a natural conclusion to it, which sort of left a bit of a bad taste in my mouth when I finished the manga. But I am interested to see how the animation kind of fits with the manga panels, because there's a lot of cool action in the series, and I remember kind of liking the CG animation in the first season. So excited to see if they continue to do that justice.
Yeah, I'd say they do. It's a show worth checking out overall. And then I have one more in the form of another anime thing. Is Tatsuki Fujimoto's 17 to 26. This is like a I don't know, it's a mini series, I guess, of Fujimoto, who's the author of Chainsaw Man, is what he's most sort of known for. Though he's done other things like Fire Fist. And I don't know, when he was younger, he did a bunch of short stories, and this anime thing is essentially multiple adaptations of the various short stories that he wrote. A lot of them are very one note and gimmicky, and try to lead very heavily into the comedy of things. And if you don't find it to be funny, you're not really going to get much out of them. That's how most of them are, honestly. Like, there's some things that are interesting in some of them, and then there's some where it feels like a complete step in the wrong direction, where he has like an idea or a concept, and part of it could be definitely like a Japanese cultural thing versus an American one. But like, especially for a particular episode, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you could have been at a certain place, but you went to a different one, and that's okay, sure. One of them though definitely felt like it went off to inspire his other story, which I forget the name of that film already, but it was the movie about the two mangaka girls.
Looking back.
Yeah, Looking Back. Thank you. He has one called Sisters, and it feels very similar. to that, in that it's two artists who are, closely attached, both girls, and they're sort of competing against one another and then working with one another. Looking back, I assume is sort of like an evolution upon that short story he had. So if anything, it's interesting to see an earlier sort of version of it, I guess. But again, it's okay overall. Part of it is also the distaste of Fujimoto, specifically with the ending of Chainsaw Man. It's like I'm seeing another sort of side to him, you know what I mean? Where it's like if there was an illusion of him being the perfect author, which I never for a second thought that he was that, but if there was, like, the illusion is broken now, or whatever, like small, still see-through barrier. If it wasn't a full illusion, it was maybe something there. I definitely, again, I like Chainsaw Man a lot for maybe 99% of it, 98% of it, like something very close to the almost 100% there. So, it's interesting seeing other stories come from the same brain as his, I guess, if anything else. If you do like Fujimoto's stuff, then you probably will get a kick out of this, even if it is a bunch of different short stories that vary in quality, sort of, and a little bit in length. But overall, they form a pretty solid idea of, like, yeah, this is a bunch of student projects essentially that are now being fully made and developed by, like, professionals in the anime industry. So it's pretty interesting overall, and it's something that can be worth checking out. It's not necessarily something that I loved or got an immense anything necessarily out of, but it's something that exists out of his stock of works, and I think it's good overall, even if I maybe said mostly bad things while talking about it.
Yeah, he's a mangaka that I still haven't done my due diligence and checked out everything that he's done yet. I've just pretty much stuck with Chainsaw Man, which I do like, but haven't finished the series, so I'll have to do that and give my final takes on what I think that series is. But he does definitely seem like he has a style, a sort of humor, and sort of similar themes that he likes to explore. So cool that this kind of gives you a bit of a blueprint on his style, essentially.
No, yeah, for sure. But that's the last show that I've seen. If you want to get on to the next session.
On to games. I just have a couple to talk about, but I can start us off with the new 007 First Light. I checked this out because I'd heard good things, and I kind of wanted just like a good kind of cinematic game experience, third-person action, and that's exactly what this delivers. This is the best James Bond ever. This is the best James Bond thing ever made. Not to say that this is a perfect game, but my enjoyment of the James Bond franchise has been tumultuous. I think it was last year that I watched all of them back to back, and was left somewhat unimpressed largely by the 30 movies as a whole. Although there are definitely some good ones in there. Generally, I think the potential of James Bond has been left unrealized, except maybe in Casino Royale, which is probably my favorite movie. Maybe that's just nostalgia talking because it was my first one, but I think also it serves as a cool kind of stripped back version of James Bond. And with the Daniel Craig series of films that we got, it was much more of a grounded take on Bond. But, it was interesting that what was once a fresh kind of renovation of tropes in Casino Royale over the course of his, decade-long tenure as James Bond, I think the movies got pretty stale and convoluted and not at all really cohesive, which kind of left me unimpressed with a large amount of his movies. So this game coming out, I didn't really have super high expectations of, just because I haven't been the biggest James Bond fan, even though I have watched all of them. But I've never really played any of the games. But, you know, after seeing reviews for this game come out, I thought, you know what, people are really liking it. It does seem like a game I might like, and, you know, I didn't do it for the completionist in me of having to do every James Bond, but it just kind of fulfilled a
You
good
must
kind
100% all the games also from like the fucking 90s or whatever.
Yeah, that might be a tough ask for me, but at least I can say that this one is a great time. Genuinely, like, the best James Bond ever. Like, it's a really good character. The writing's great. It's full of humor. It's pretty light and somewhat campy like the old ones, but it still has that gritty kind of spy thriller energy of the Daniel Craig versions. It also has a really convoluted kind of plot that is so it's almost a staple of James Bond, whereas like you might have a Mission Impossible kind of spy thriller or a Jason Bourne where it's a little more grounded and a little more, you know, straightforward, so to say. James Bond has always been very chaotic and all over the place due to it being, you know, one of the oldest franchises in film. But this one, I think, serves as like the perfect blend of tropes in addition to great cinematic moments, solid writing, great character work. All the performances are great. The mocap is all really done well. The set pieces that you get to explore are really cool, super grand, you know, palaces and tropical islands and secret, you know, research laboratories. There's just a ton of James Bondisms that you get to explore without, you know, feeling tropey or without feeling ham-fisted. It's just balanced super well. Combat, also a ton of fun. There is a mix of hand-to-hand combat and gunplay, with the majority of the combat that you're going to be doing is hand-to-hand because, you know, he's licensed to kill, but he normally doesn't. In, you know, the franchise, he's often, you know, going hand-to-hand and just beating people up, knocking them unconscious, or being stealthy. And you have all of these opportunities. This game is developed by IO Interactive, who is pretty well known for doing the Hitman games, which are very well known in the stealth gameplay genre. And I was intrigued by that to see how they might kind of blend their style of stealth into a more, you know, straightforward AAA title and licensed title. And it's interesting because this is less of a stealth game. It's definitely much more of an action-forward video game. There's a lot of almost reactionary gameplay that you're going to be playing. And by that, I mean the way that the game is designed makes it really much more engaging if you're always moving forward. You don't really have to plan out your engagement with a bunch of these objectives where, you know, you have to trail this figure or investigate, you know, a bomb threat or whatever. You're given kind of a higher objective that you get to explore through a bigger kind of set piece mission area, and you get to do that a variety of ways. You can stealth through. There's a bunch of kind of cool espionage acts you can do by, like, you know, poisoning people, lock picking. You can eavesdrop and, you know, kind of note down interesting facts about the area that you can then follow up and investigate and find secrets and shortcuts or stuff like that. Or you can just kind of go in guns blazing, so to speak, which is mostly just using your hands and fists. But the combat is really great. It feels good. I have gotten into the habit of comparing every melee combat system to Sifu, but this one definitely seems like it takes inspiration, especially in the way that it deals with throwables and having finishers that combo really well. It's just a great flow to the combat. It's interesting. Honestly, I think the hand-to-hand combat is balanced so that you almost don't need guns even when they're allowed. The guns are fun enough to play with. It's not, a standout element to the gameplay, but the hand-to-hand combat, you get enough iframes from doing certain actions and getting finishers or dodging. You have a lot of iframes at your disposal, so you can almost completely ignore guns and just rush forward, kind of dodging and chaining interactables, and it just builds to a really unique flow with gameplay. So I ended up really, really enjoying it. And there's a ton more to the game. It's all really polished. There are some elements of car chases, because that's always a thing in a James Bond movie or a game or whatever. And those were not super well implemented. The driving felt a little clunky and floaty, and there's only a couple set pieces that actually have you driving, so it's not a really in-depth system in this game. But everything around it, the cinematics, the actual narrative, even though it is really convoluted, it ends up kind of going in a nice direction. I thought it ended strong. There's plenty of intrigue and characters that are a lot of fun to interact with. You get a sort of mentor figure that has, probably the best writing and a great relationship that forms there. You get your James Bond is pretty green. He's pretty fresh. He's just getting recruited, so this is his first light, so to say. But it serves well to kind of create a protagonist that is easy to root for. He's sort of an underdog, but also an anti-establishment kind of figure, where he's kind of bucking up against the restraints of MI6, but he has to sort of mature and understand where he has to rein it in sometimes. So just a bunch of great character work and development. Just honestly a great time. The best thing James Bond has ever produced. I haven't read the books.
Yeah, it's your favorite James Bond thing. Yeah,
it is at this point in time. So high praise.
You said he had a mentor figure? That wasn't something he had in the films, did he?
No, he is kind of always established as like an efficient spy in the movies, except I guess in Casino Royale, where it is one of his first outings as 007. But this is like the first kind of James Bond piece of media that actually goes into his training.
Wow, his character, his backstory.
Like what he actually values, like why, who,
women,
if he,
martinis or something.
There is plenty of that. James Bond is a womanizer. It's one of his things. So there's plenty of romance to be had in this. Sure. I was pleasantly surprised by this. Definitely a very strong game.
That's awesome.
Definitely worth checking out, because it's not too long, honestly. It's like 20 hours, which might be a little short depending on how much you pay for this game.
That's it. That's the thing when you get to video games and like the pricing of it. It's like, it's short. It could be a good thing to some people, or it could be a bad thing to some people. And if it's people playing games on like the subscription service through like Xbox or PlayStation or whoever, then it's probably fine.
Yeah, this would be excellent.
They don't even care. Like if it's on that, or if people are paying full price for their games or buying them individually, then if it's going for $70 and you play it for $20, then for me that's not the best sort of deal. But like I don't know, the $1 to hour ratio, like if that can't work out, it's a good deal. But if it's like a little bit less than that, it's also probably fine. You know what I mean? So long as it's like a solid set of hours to be had with this. And I probably will check this one out at some point. I was surprised to hear positive news about it, because I was thinking like, like the thing about the audience for James Bond, like it's not modern gamers really.
No,
it's not like the 20 or 30-year-olds. It's probably people twice that age, right? So it's interesting, and it's both interesting and cool that it's able to bypass its perhaps I don't know, stereotypes or like the feelings of the newer audience members, even such as yourself, being against many of the films but still finding enjoyment in it. I think it's cool.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. There are some online elements to it where there is I forget what it's called, SimTech or something like that, where you kind of go through simulations and trials, and you can do scoring runs and have certain extra content, so to speak. And I believe they're going to be continuing to release updates for that and different maps and different objectives, and kind of similar to what they've done with the Hitman, the newer trilogy, with kind of continuously creating missions. But I didn't really engage with that system at all.
Well, okay then. Maybe I will, or maybe I won't. Who knows? Maybe I'll forget all about it by the time I check it out, because it might be like 2 years until I play it.
Whenever it's released on sale, or yeah,
Yep.
I think that's valid.
All right. I got a thing. So I've mentioned a good number of series that I've started playing, like the first game in, or maybe from like the middle or something. So I was trying to, I guess, last month tackle some of those existing series that I started, and trying to just get through more entries of them. One of those being, of course, the Mega Man Legacy Collection 2. This is games, what the fuck, 7, 8, 9, and 10 in the series. The first collection had 6 games in total. This one only has 4. They might be priced similarly, which is a thing, which is a decision to make, I guess. The thing is, the reason for that decision, I think, is because from 7, there's a very clear step into a more modern era, not by today's standards by any means, but there's a clear separation, at least visually, between 7 and 6 there. For one, it's just the graphics in general. I think it's the NES to the SNES, if I had to guess the jump. And what you get from that is more potential in just visuals in general, right? I mean, that's obvious. You don't need me to tell you that. But what it does result in for 7 specifically is better level theming. It's a lot more unique. It's not just the simple or simpler sort of concepts explored in the first set of them, where it's like, okay, now there's Woodman, now there's Airman, now there's Bowman. Like it gets a little bit weird. There's like a vampire, I think, in 7. I forget the other ones. I just reviewed my footage for it, but I was mostly looking at 9 and 10 because I was trying to figure out what the fuck the differences were before them, because in my head, like, they're the same exact thing. But in 7, like 7 almost made me stop playing these fucking games, because the final boss is just such AIDS, and like if you're unprepared for it, like he's not the most impossibly difficult boss ever, but like if you're unprepared and you don't know the game like me, like I ended up having to do I think the entire Wily stages and boss rush again, just to get back to him in like a slightly more ideal state, which I realized after I did not have to do that. I could have like fucking, because I wanted to reach the menu where I could get the shop, and I thought I had to fucking go all the way back to a certain point that I did not need to go back to, and I could have just game overed and then got to the shop somehow through that or something. I didn't know how to do it though, so I was just fucking, I ended up redoing parts of this game that I didn't have to necessarily. But there's a good handful of annoying bosses in this one, and especially the final boss. It's just like in a completely different league. And like the first time, not even the first time, like the first couple of times, the first fucking day I was on it, I was just like, this is such fucking bullshit. But like eventually, once I reset myself and got myself in a better situation, it was suddenly a lot more doable and was not overly difficult. It just required a little bit more, prep than perhaps some of the other final bosses in the series. But I think it easily, out of the entire series, at least 1 through 10, it has the most difficult final boss, I'd say. And then 8 is also another step in a similar direction, where, again, compared to 6, it's a much more graphically enhanced. Specifically compared to 7, though, it's interesting because it's gotten better animation. but the actual like details of the colors are a lot flatter. It's really weird. Like it's visually better in some regards, but worse in others. Like especially the backgrounds, like the colors just feel much flatter, while in 7 they feel a lot more detailed, which is interesting. Because I think for 8 the backgrounds actually do matter a little bit more because they'll telegraph when things are coming to the foreground a little bit more often. So they have like a little bit more literal depth going on with that. 8 also has voice acting and cutscenes, which are very silly. They're basically Saturday morning cartoons for kids, and I'm sitting there as a fully grown adult person just watching them, and it's really bad dub voice acting and just like in terrible like fucking VHS or I don't know worse like quality for these fucking cutscenes, and it's like, do we not have better versions of them saved somewhere to be put onto this fucking legacy collection? What's legacy about it? We get to see how it looked back then. I want to see how it looks on modern hardware. I don't know. Probably most people don't care because the story in all of these games is fairly silly and corny and tropey, and the bad voice acting definitely leads into that. So it's not something to write home about, I guess, in any particular way. But if you do like that corn fest, then Mega Man 8 fucking cutscenes that happen every like at like the very start and then like very end and maybe somewhere in the middle, I forget. There's maybe only like 2 or 3 of them, but they got you covered in that regard there. And then 9 is very interesting, where 7 and 8 they're like graphically going, sort of increasing, and it's a big step away from 6. And then 9 goes like reverse, where I think after 8 they start doing the Mega Man X series, and so they take a step away from the mainline games. And 8 came out in 96, and then 2008 is when Mega Man 9 released. And so you would expect, fucking 96 to 2008, that's got to be like a billion fucking graphics of increase. How could they possibly, what could they do with the Mega Man mainline series? How could they have like limitless potential, you know what I mean, to
you could just reboot the whole thing.
Increase
at that
the
point.
graphics.
It's been long enough.
Yeah, bro, remake the first game in like fucking epic 3D graphics.
Remaster it. Yeah.
Exactly. They didn't do that. They also didn't like make Mega Man 9 like the visually more enhanced, like improvement point from 8. Instead, they actually go back. In 2008 they make an NES visually looking game, which is really interesting. I think it makes it stand out definitely in those ways, and it brings back the same controls from the older games too, where eventually you get like a slide for like more maneuverability. They get rid of that in 9 and 10 because 10 does the same thing that 9 does, and like 9 sticks out for that reason of, okay, we're in 2008 now, and you're making a game that looks like it's from the NES, but it's actually from 2008. And then you make 10 and you just sort of do the same thing again. It's like, oh, well, maybe now we could go in the opposite direction, see what the modern hardware can do for a mainline Mega Man title. But instead, now you're just going to do the same thing again. So now there's fucking 8 of them. There's 8 NES Mega Man games, even though 2 of them were not made on the NES. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool if there's 1, but like now there's 2, so it's just like, I don't know. So like for that, a lot of it sort of blends together. I think 10 is honestly one of the more fair ones, though. Like 9, I'm thinking of it right now. There's at least a level or 2 where just like most of the shit in there is annoying, and then like at least every stage has like some like it's like otherwise perfect and like well structured, but it just like has some like one random annoying thing that doesn't need to fucking be there, or it could just be alleviated slightly. Meanwhile, 10 is a lot more I don't know, balanced or player friendly overall. Maybe it's just because I played 9 of these by this point, so I was a little bit more used to the fucking shittery that it might throw at you. But I want to say 10 is a little bit more fair as far as the series is concerned, though. I don't think it doesn't justify its existence quite enough, because it is very similar to 9 in that it's not like a demake. I mean, maybe that is the term, where it's modern hardware made to resemble what shit looked like in the past. So it's definitely not a bad entry in the series. I don't think any of these are necessarily. I mean, I guess I dislike 7 the most because its final boss was annoying and I had to redo however much of the game. So that was silly. But overall, these are all still good entries into a series that I like overall. I'm not necessarily one to go back and replay all of these, even though they are totally meant to be perfected. And even I think actually maybe 10 does have the purpose in terms of Proto Man. So like they get rid of some of the controls in 9, and then they have a character select, I think in 10, where you could play as either Mega Man or Proto Man. Proto Man has like the slide and like some other shit, maybe. I don't know. So at least there's that aspect of, I think, 10. Again, it could be 9. I have no idea. I didn't review that. But yeah, the other thing is about this collection. So for the first one, there was a rewind feature. So I would sort of cheat the games and just be like, oh, I died or I fucked up the particular room this much. I would just respawn to like the start of the like room, like the area, and just do that again. This one doesn't have rewind. It has checkpoints instead. So I was playing a lot more of the levels over and over again. I would still not use lives. Like when I died, I just like reloaded the checkpoint rather than counting it as a life because I don't want to fucking do game overs. It would have made these games take like however many, like twice as long, which, am I playing the game as intended? Yeah, but maybe the way that they intended is stupid and dated or whatever. So, I think it's completely fair that they have these checkpoints if you want to play the games in their original way where you have game overs and shit. That's completely fine, and many would argue more reasonable than whatever I'm doing. I didn't truly beat them. I'm sorry. I'm not a real fan. I'm a LARPer or whatever, right? But yeah, overall, I like these games. I'll probably check out. I will check out more Mega Man games at some point, probably with the X series. I've heard good things about a good handful of those. I think X, from my understanding, has some of the highest highs and lowest lows of the whole series, so I'm interested to check those out, because I would say like the Mega Man mainline stuff are fairly consistent. I think there's definitely some that stand out, but most of them just sort of blend together. And again, part of that is just me playing them once back to back for a lot of them, but they're difficult to get into because they're fairly old. They don't have fucking romance options. Sadly, they don't have epic modern day graphics where there's like hot waifus or the fucking
there's no
CG
remasters.
Western people. There's no fucking HD remasters where I can see. I need to see fucking third person Mega Man. Those games actually do exist. I forget. It's Mega Man Legends, I think, but those are old also, and those need to be remastered. Even though there's a fucking Legacy collection that was just released for those now, so that's not happening probably. But yeah, it's a cool series overall. Again, not the thing I love most in video games in general, but there's something neat to boot up and play now and again, perhaps, or something.
Very cool. I will maybe go through that series.
Yeah.
I they're pretty short, which I guess is nice, so you don't have to spend too much time to get through the series. But I also never really loved the first couple, or I can't remember which ones I played, but definitely something to be on my backlog list.
It'll sit there.
The only other game that I've been playing recently was the Hitman games, because I loved the 007 First Light game so much that I was like, I should do my due diligence. I should check out what IO Interactive have made. I've already heard great things about Hitman as a series. I remember when the first original trilogy was coming out, and then they sort of revamped it, and I think 2016 was when the original first kind of remaster Hitman, just blank Hitman, was released. 2016, yeah. And
this is the one you played.
I ended up
version?
purchasing the Hitman World of Assassination trilogy, which is it's a package of the newest 3 trilogy of Hitman. It's kind of a complicated series to get into for that weird reason, because there's a soft reboot,
It's
essentially, of it.
rebooted.
But from what I can tell, a lot of people just say, get the Hitman World of Assassination bundle. That's kind of what their big thing is. They're continuously releasing new missions for that, and it's sort of just the best package. So that's what I did, and I definitely have to say that it's worth it. I am still pretty early on in it, so I can't speak to anything. I think I'm still playing through the first game, technically, Hitman 2016. But man, I've always loved stealth games. Dishonored is probably my favorite, and this is doing something different. It's not as in depth in the fantasy world building of it or the kind of gritty narrative of it, but the interactivity and the level design and the amount of variety that you can play through this game with is really impressive. I'm liking a lot. The different missions that you go on are very much kind of almost James Bond-esque. I can see how they kind of used what they've developed here in Hitman and carried on into the 007 game that I just played. Because there is just some outrageously lavish set design. You'll go to palaces, museums, just huge Italian vistas. You get to explore really huge areas with tons of NPCs, a million different guards, research assistants, anyone you can interact with, you can pretty much name. It's really impressive. There are so many ways to kill people. This is really just like a murder simulator.
Sure.
And the way that you play this game, it's really interesting because you'll be giving a contract, right? You kill this person and that person, and you're dropped in the middle of a mission, and you are just left to your own devices. You get to kind of eavesdrop things, follow clues, and eventually you'll find your way into the vicinity of a contract, and you get to decide how you want to kill them. And it really is not that difficult to finish a mission. You can pretty much, there's a lot of, I think they're called, missions, essentially, where there are like 5 kind of quest lines that you can follow in any mission, and they will take you to one of the 2 contracts and kind of give you a good avenue of how to kill one of them or both of them. But there are so many other ways of killing them that when you first finish a mission and kill both of the contracts, or however many there are, you'll be given a screen of what you actually did in a mission and each of the things that you accomplished, and you'll get XP for that. And then it'll also show you everything that you didn't do yet. And when you're running through the mission, you can check on all of those objectives and kind of figure out, okay, it says kill this contract by drowning them in a bathtub, or drop a speaker on their head, or explode them by lighting a gas can on fire.
So it's like
or,
a puzzle or something.
Drop a
to, like,
chandelier
kill
on
people.
them. It low-key is. And you can take advantage of save slots, which I think is really fun. If you're just playing through the game by just like following the objective and just playing through the mission once, you are gonna get maybe like, it only takes like 5 to 10 minutes per level, and there's like 6 or so levels, 6 to 8 maybe, in each game. So it's really not that much content if you're doing it like that. But the massive variety of objectives and interactivity that you get to play around with are so creative, and it's really engaging. I love using the manual saves in order to kind of set up checkpoints where you can make this decision and kill them this way, or kill them that way, and you can kind of go through the level placing these checkpoints and interacting with it in different ways, and sort of just like playing with a sandbox in a really interactive way that I don't really get in any other game. It's really cool. It's not as in-depth of a a stealth system as like a Dishonored, where you're hiding behind cover and like
Hmm.
hiding bodies like that. This is definitely more. It feels more gamey. You can understand the patterns set forth by the NPCs, and you can sort of there's coins that you can use to attract people, and it's like very effective by just drawing the attention of someone, and they'll be forced to sort of investigate wherever you throw this coin. And it's really easy to game that system, but it's cool because you get to sort of experience a mastery over the level design that feels really impactful and kind of satisfying. So definitely want to continue playing this. I'm still pretty early on, but I have a bunch of good things to say about it because it's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll probably check out this series at some point. Again, it's yeah, I guess like you said, it's weird with the reboot stuff. Like, are the older games not worth checking out at all, or are they just a little bit more
Yeah,
dated? Like what?
I think they're just more dated. I remember hearing good things about them when they were originally releasing, but at this point in time, the newer trilogy is really all people talk about. I
Okay.
think the older ones have somewhat fallen by the wayside, although for diehards, I'm sure it's definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, yeah, I was looking at like various reviews for like the 2012 one is a little bit more middling. Meanwhile, this one, Blood Money from 2006, at least on backlog
Hmm.
reviews, has got high stuff. So
Yeah.
always take the
So,
backlog average rating with a grain of salt. But I can see what you might be thinking or saying,
mhm.
and that some of them are perhaps more memorable to certain people than others. But if it's the reboot ones replaced than the old ones, then maybe I'll check those out at some point because it's obviously a series that's talked about a great deal. And from my understanding, it's essentially like just like a sandbox of just
Hmm.
figuring out how to murder people in cooler, epic ways or whatever. Um,
Yeah, it's very cool how almost how gamey it is. Like it
mhm.
very much feels like you're following the clues and you're putting things together. It's pretty easy in that way where you're not gonna like struggle to find all the secrets if you do a good job of exploring everything. But it's just fun in that way. It's very, it's not as taxing of a stealth game, but it's definitely fun to kind of do your homework and understand the routines of everyone, figure out and plan and execute however you want to, because really there is just a million and one ways to kill in this game.
No, yeah, for sure. We'll check out in the future. And you plan on playing the sequels? I mean, you bought them, so
Yeah,
you have
I'm
to.
gonna
You
continue
don't
to
you don't
play
just
through.
let games sit in your
No, no,
backlog
no.
like I do, like my Steam backlog. You actually play the games that you own, which is
I try
crazy.
not to.
Well, actually, all the games I have to talk about are from Steam, so including this next one, where I played a game that is fairly well known. It's called Heavy Rain. And you remember how like I think it was last time or it was the time before we were talking about Dispatch, and we were
Hmm.
saying like we were both saying that like we as soon as the game started or very close to the start of it, there were like QTEs and we just turned them off from the main menu. Like
Hmm.
imagine if just an entire video game is that. It's just QTEs after fucking QTEs after like it just like the worst control scheme ever.
It's a very
Like
niche
also.
video game market
Oh
making
yeah.
an entire game of QTEs.
Oh yeah, 100%. Um, but anyways, this is an influential game. It's a story driven thing that went on to inspire a billion other games to exist. It's from 2010, and in this era, it's one of the earlier ones to take that step of getting motion capture, getting real world actors rather than voice actors to play the characters and to have some sort of visionary guy, main brain, I guess, be at the helm of the project and try to, show off how games can be art and weave in this theoretically cool and epic plotline thing. It's about like a serial kidnapper, murderer person who like kidnaps children or whatever. So you get perspective of like the father of one of the victims, you get like an FBI agent investigating some stuff. You get like a private investigator, and then the fourth character you play as is like just some woman. I guess she's an investigative journalist or something. That's what she's does eventually, but for most of it, it's not really that. The actual script is not great, and the voice acting is pretty bad overall. I mean, it's fairly infamous when it comes to that. There's like the whole like dude yelling Sean, which is his kid's name, over and over again. Which for me, he did that for like a long as fucking time because I couldn't figure out what the game wanted me to do at that point. There were a handful of moments like that. But yeah, just like the writing isn't great, the acting is also not very good. The like they give you dialogue options, right? And dialogue options, oftentimes you don't really think about them when you play video games. They're just sort of something that exists, and you're not like consciously thinking about them, or at least normal people don't, but I do. And so like in this game, like it's just not clear sometimes like what like an optional dialogue would do. Like there was some option that I wanted to be like you're the FBI agent and there's another FBI agent and he's investigating like he's like questioning, you're both questioning a dude and he's like being harsh to him. So I wanted to like also lay into that and also be like the bad, like two bad cops at once. Like that's what I wanted to do. But the dialogue option I chose was actually delivered to the other FBI agent, which is not what I wanted. But there was like no way for me to tell that. I mean, I guess I should have guessed by like the game's theming or just being able to predict like where the fucking direction of the story would go, where they're obviously butting heads or whatever. But I thought it would be interesting if they just stopped that and ganged up on this completely random, probably innocent from my memory dude that they were like questioning loudly, or at the very least the one like bad cop was. But that was something. Like as far as things that this game does well, there's instances like especially for like the medium of games, I guess, since you're controlling a character, and so they'll have you control a character on one part of the screen, and then on another part they'll show a scene taking place nearby that your character will be like on the move to, and like it's that whatever sort of irony of you the player know about it but the character in universe doesn't, and so you're sort of seeing the scene take place and you're questioning, am I going to get there in time? What's going to happen by the time the character I'm controlling gets there? And there's some stuff with that. I guess there's some random things about the game that are broken in the sense that I got achievements for things that I did not do, which I don't know if that's ever happened for me before in another video game. If it has, I cannot recall. But either like the exact trigger for the achievement is bugged, or just the description of them is incorrect, because there were multiple times where it was like, fucking do this thing, and I just did not do that thing. I did something else, and I got the achievement for it. So that was something, I guess. But like really my main issue with it, like above all the like not so great writing and acting, is just the actual like playing the video game is not fun. Like controlling the characters is so ass, and like every time you want to interact with an object, it's not a simple, okay, you press the A button or you press cross or X as some people call it on the PlayStation stuff. You have to like fucking hold down a button, I think, on controller, and then like press down on the right stick, or you make like a circular motion on the right stick, or like some shit. It didn't fucking work for me on like the controller. I had to stop using controller. So like at the very beginning of the game, my character was, I was just trying to pick up a coffee pot to pour coffee, and the game would not let me. I had to go like to the right and then circle up or something, and it just literally would not fucking work. So I had to switch to mouse controls, which has its own bag of problems, because now I'm on 4-directional, I guess 8-directional movement, rather than I think it's analog for the rest of it, but that's again only if you play controller. So I could have done the Peter technique, like Cyberpunk, where you're playing mouse and keyboard, sometimes controller, sometimes. Maybe I could have had my controller on and then I'm moving around with the fucking controller, and then anytime I had to interact with a stupid object, I'd use the mouse. Like, I don't know. I only thought of that now because that as a control scheme never occurred to me until you mentioned it during when you were talking about Cyberpunk. So it's an option now. It's an advanced gamer tech that Peter invented. So we'll have to follow that now, I guess. But
Yeah,
like playing
who
the
would
game
have
is
thought
just like
that Heavy
annoying.
Rain would
You know?
require
No, I
that
know.
sort
Well,
of
it's fucking silly,
insane
right? 'Cause it's
control set?
essentially a visual novel or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like it should not be have complicated controls, but like it does. You know what I mean? Like it's trying to be
Hmm.
innovative, but I really don't think you need. And I hope nowadays that we know this, but I really don't think you need control schemes like that to create like an interesting
A
narrative
visual
or like a unique
novel. Yeah.
game. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, like if it's literally, I guess it's not really a visual novel. It's just it's a story driven game thing. You
Hmm.
know, it's tagged as adventure. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it is. It's like it's the story is a mystery. I guess the gameplay is also a fucking mystery because it doesn't work. You
Hmm.
have to sit there and figure out why is the I'm just trying to fucking have my character pick up a coffee pot. It should not be hard. It should not be fucking hard. This is not the Mega Man 7 boss, final boss. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's silly. Um, but I could understand how at the time this was influential in however many ways they've gone on and they've made. I guess they're most known for now. Detroit Become Human, which I think that also exists on my Steam, or maybe not. I don't remember. Um, but I'll probably check that one out at some point because I am interested in like a slightly more modern version of like like the plot centric games of like
Hmm.
decisions matter and like intertwining plot lines and like different outcomes for various different decisions that you make because that is another very big aspect of this game where it's very decision focused and sometimes it's intertwined with the gameplay like you have to do a particular thing within a certain amount of time. Sometimes it is as simple as just choosing the right or wrong dialogue option. So I think like in that direction it's definitely a good step, but like a lot of the decisions themselves don't lead to anything meaningful necessarily. A lot of them lead to the same road. It's sort of like one of those illusion of choice things, I think. Like there's definitely bad endings you can get, and there's definitely gooder ones you could get, but a lot of them there's not too many in between, I don't think. So I guess that's something about it too. Um, but overall, I understand why it got praise or whatever at the time of its release, though I think it is dated in terms of I guess most of all gameplay, and its script and acting especially don't hold up either. So it could be something difficult to go into in the modern day because there's probably better versions of this that exist, namely the Detroit Become Human. Theoretically, I haven't played it, but from the same studio, more recent. Theoretically, they're learning from the not necessarily mistakes because I'm sure a lot of the bad things in this game were intentional or whatever, like the fucking controls. But hopefully they like learned not to do stupid stuff like that. I have no idea. Maybe it is that because that's the other thing. You're like the QTEs also exist, and sometimes you're just like pressing buttons for like 5 fucking minutes. It's like a fight scene happens or something, and it's like you mess up once or you get it perfectly, and it's like the same outcome every time. Maybe I don't know. I guess I should have reviewed that. Who knows? Who knows? We don't do research here. Who do you think we are? But yeah, that's Heavy Rain. It's an interesting one for sure.
It's definitely one that, is part of the internet culture around games.
Oh yeah.
It's somewhat iconic, even though honestly I haven't really heard many good things about it. Um, but it is definitely one I've loosely wanted to check out just for the sake of it and
No, yeah. For
for
the
the
historical video
understanding.
game
Yeah,
side of
yeah,
it, I
yeah.
think it's definitely influential in that way.
Maybe I'll have to check it out then.
Hmm. Yes, sir. And you could rock you could let us know if the cyberpunk type control scheme is good. Doing the controller
I'll
sometimes,
be sure to do
the
that.
keyboard and
Yeah.
mouse sometimes, or you could even see if the fucking controller worked for you because it 100% did not work for me. I did everything. I tried on that coffee pod for like 10 minutes. It didn't budge. I think I ran out of time because it was like a slightly timed thing going on where it's like you have to do whatever random shit until a certain point. Whatever.
Hmm.
I'm over it. I've finished that game. I'm over it. Um, anyways, I have two more things to talk about. One of them again is from an existing series thing that I started. Specifically, it's the sequel to Final Fantasy X HD remaster. This one, of course, being called Final Fantasy X-2 HD remaster. And this is another turn-based RPG thing. It is the sequel to Final Fantasy X, and it's It's cool. Um, so like the main complaint, or one of the main complaints that people have for this game as a sequel to 10, is the sort of mood difference between the two, where 10 definitely had a lot of lighthearted moments, but it was also a very serious story. And it's that very classic JRPG plotline of, okay, here is the big baddie thing that's going to destroy all of our lives as we know it, and we need to create the fucking party of heroes to go out and destroy the big bad and save the world or whatever, right? And 10-2 is a lot different because essentially that's been done. And so it takes a very different approach to the mood, where like the characters, after defeating the fucking world end boss thing, are like living out various different lives. But then a couple of the main characters formed a different party to just fucking, they're called like sphere hunters or something. I don't really know what that means. They're like bounty hunters sort of, but they also like, there's like a whole monster collection thing, which I didn't get super into, which I'll get more on that in a second. But like, there's definitely a big mood change. Like they're fucking like pop singers also out of nowhere. Like they perform at like concerts or something. It's like a group of girls, right? Like the Titus is the main character of 10, and then for some reasons there's instead of Yuna is the main character of this one, and then there's another party member from the 10-1, and then there's a new character, and they just form a group of 3. And as far as gameplay is concerned, it's pretty interesting. It's like, I mean, for simplicity's sake of explaining it, it's a little bit like Metaphor ReFantazio in that you have like a bunch of archetypes. You have like the mage, you have the fucking, I don't know, the fighter warrior archetype. You have like the dancer, which is like a support unit sort of. And so you have these characters can like move from one archetype to another in combat, and you like set equipment to allow for them to like swap forms in like on like a grid. There's a lot of interesting things going on with this in terms of gameplay. The main issue though with it is the fact that I was not able to necessarily fully go into all of it, because I could not actually finish this game. I literally could not. The version of this game on Steam is completely fucking broken, right? So like the fullest extent of my issues of 10-1 HD remaster on Steam was I would just get like green screen cutscenes every once in a while, which would force me to just look at them up on YouTube. So I'd be like, oh, that's what the background is supposed to like, or oh, that's what the entire cutscene is supposed to look like. Because I would only hear the voices, and it would literally just be green. Like, in literally like in one of the most pivotal cutscenes, it was just all fucking green. I'm like, oh, okay, really? Now you're doing that? But that was like the worst of it. It may have crashed once or twice, but 10-2 crashes constantly. And I'm not the only one with this problem. It's a very common complaint. In fact, if you look at Steam reviews for it right now, I think they're like overall positive, but right now they're negative. And it's because it might be something more recent, like some sort of update they made for it more recently. I have no idea. And I don't know if it's affecting 10-1 now, at the very least for when I played 10-1. Whenever that was, however many months ago, it was overall fine for me. But for this, though, it was completely fucking broken. It would crash like super often. Like even, I mean, on average, it was maybe like 15-20 minutes, but sometimes it would crash like within 5 minutes of booting up the game again. Like it was just ridiculous. And there were like, I read into it a little bit. There's fan patches to, make the game work or whatever sometimes, but like not every single person who used those patches found success in that. And I think there's like multiple different patches for the fucking things, and some of them like different versions of them worked to varying different degrees. And it's just like I don't want to fucking go through that headache. You know what I mean? Like the game should just work. Like if the game is broken on modern systems and you cannot support the fucking version of it, just like take it down, give us a refund. You're obviously not going to do that. But like morally, that's what you should do. You should not fucking sell a broken product to people. You know what I mean? No matter what. And that applies to this. It's a little bit awkward because it's in like that bundle I think they sell the game. They do sell the game separately. But I bought the two of them together. Actually, no, I think they're both actually one. They're considered one game on Steam, so it's the two of them in one big thing. But yeah, it's just annoying. It's just annoying, and there might be some way for me to pirate it and just like have like an actual time where I could really play the game, and maybe there's a way even for me to transfer my save data. I'm sure there probably is a way. I haven't looked into it. Because that's the thing. Like I wasn't having a bad time with this game. I was thinking that the combat gameplay is interesting. The story is taking a more like a lighthearted approach. But I don't really have any problem with that. I think it makes sense because it's the fucking Nomura terminology where it's literally called the Eternal Calm. So it's like that's just like it's just peace endlessly forever. So it's like, okay, they're going to be pop singers now. They're going to go around doing collecting spheres, because the first game was obsessed with spheres. They're still obsessed with spheres in this game. So they're just doing more of that. So like, I would have liked to have finished this and played this and stuff like that, but I don't know. I do have some other things to say about the gameplay though. It uses the active battle time system thing, which the Final Fantasy games have been doing forever. This one is interesting though, because it feels way too fast. Like the amount of options that you have versus like the amount of time you have to decide the mount feels very low. I feel like they were aware of this because they have an option to like turn that off, and so that when you are selecting a command, time will freeze, which is probably what I would have swapped to eventually. As like, I don't know, I was hesitant to do that because I was like, I don't want to play it on baby goo goo gaga mode, but maybe that is the way to do it, because it did feel a little bit too quickly paced in terms of battles. Like I would win the fights, but I wouldn't really get a good sense of like what's going on, to the point where like, it could be okay for the normal encounters, but maybe I get to like tougher areas or boss fights and stuff, and I know less about the actual gameplay because I was literally like did not have enough time to process the normal encounters. You know what I mean? So there's that. And then also like switching jobs, like what I was saying earlier, where you could swap from one archetype to another. So you have like your mage do like a fucking fire tag, take out one enemy, and now there's an enemy who's needs to be taken out in a different way. They could swap to like a different thing. Like the main problem with that, there might have been a thing to skip it. There probably was. I could only hope that there was. But like the animation for them to transform from like one thing to another, it takes like 10 seconds or more, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's like a shit ton when you're playing this game. And it's like very quickly paced battles. But then it suddenly just stopped for like an entire cutscene where like the girl is just slowly like Sailor Moon style transforming clothes. It's just like, okay, I get it. It's like cool or whatever for the girls playing, the gamer girls who are playing the fucking JRPGs in 2013, which, I'm sure there were probably a handful of them in Japan. But, as far as the outside of there, obviously JRPGs are less popular. And then for the female player base compared to the male gamers, it's definitely a lesser played genre. But I don't know, maybe at the time this was able to break out to the girls across both Japan and internationally. If so, that's cool, because it's a fun genre that deserves to be played by more people, I'd say. But again, it's unfortunate because I was not able to play it to its completion. I stopped fairly early on into the game. It just like, it's just annoying, it's just annoying to have to constantly crash, because it would save off and automatically. And so that's why I was sort of fight against it. I was like, oh, okay, it's crashed. I do undo, a minute or two of progress every once in a while. That's fine. But it got to a point where I like finished like a complete like bigger, wider area where I did a bunch of battles. I like messed with equipment. I like did all this JRPG shit, and then just fucking crashed on me. It's like, only 15 minutes, but it just hit me that realization of, oh, that's going to happen all the fucking time. I'm going to do all this shit and it's just going to be as if it never existed. So it's just annoying.
That is brutal.
No, yeah. But again, maybe someday I'll come back to it in a pirated fashion, or hey, who knows if they ever fix it? Which
fix the game?
I doubt it.
That would be crazy.
On the one hand, I would be surprised if they did, but it would be nice. Anyways, I have one last game to talk about from another series that I started, and I'm planning a sequel to it. This one is Halo 2, specifically the anniversary version, which was on the Master Chief Collection. Halo Combat Evolved was the campaign of that was something I did not enjoy too terribly much. I thought the plot was not the most interesting ever. The actual gameplay was super repetitive. It was like the same enemies, you're fighting like hundreds of them using like the same weapons over and over again. It's just so it was so long, and some of the like areas are just kind of bogus in my opinion. I mean, I was playing the game for the first time, so I didn't really know everything there is to know about the game or whatever. But there were definitely a good handful of moments that bugged or annoyed me while playing that. And I have to say, a lot of my problems I had with Halo Combat Evolved, the fucking campaign of that, were pretty much diminished, if not eliminated, in the Halo 2 campaign. I actually enjoyed this overall. It felt like a better structured, more like intention put behind its like level design. You know what I mean? Where it's each area feels like different layers of tests for you, where they're providing you different weaponry or different vehicles, and it feels like a more intentional, like when I think Mario or Mega Man, of giving you those 1, 2, 3 tests of here's an easy version, here's a slightly more difficult version of the challenge, and then here's like a final more intense version of it, type of level design. It feels like there's more just overall intention behind the structure of not only the physical space, but again, the tools that they give you and the number of enemies and the exact type of them that, that you have to go up against. So it may be similar in length to the first game's campaign. It might even be a little bit shorter, maybe, but at the very least, it feels a lot less repetitive because of all of those reasons. And there's also there's more weapons that they added to this. You could even like dual wield some of them, which probably makes combat go a little bit quicker because you're firing twice as fast, assuming that the enemies have the same HP levels and all the guns deal the same damage. I have no idea. I'm not one who would know all that, but at the very least, combat did feel a little bit, quicker and just more streamlined in general. There's also 2 characters that you play as, which is really interesting. The story is way more interesting in this, and the actual lore surrounding it is really cool. It actually made me go to the fucking wiki and like go and like look up and like read random shit about it because I was intrigued. Like I was actually like, okay, this is something here. Meanwhile, the first one, it was just like, I don't know, I was left feeling nothing. But this, it was like cool. And getting sort of the dual narrative aspect of it, I feel like adds a lot. And when you play as the other character, you get like the gameplay changes along with it, where you get like a stealth, you get to go invisible, which was something that only the enemies could do, but now you get to control a character that can do that, and it changes up the way that you go about the levels, and I think it's really cool, and it helps spice up and keeps things fresh, and it prevents things from feeling as repetitive as Halo Combat Evolved. So it's another thing that sort of plays into that. I've never seen this before, but it's genuinely really cool. It may have been something you could do in the first Halo, because I think that was also like had an anniversary version in the Master Chief Collection or something. But in this game, you could swap between the original graphics or like the original version of the game and the remastered one just on the fly. You just press a button and the entire fucking game changes visually and auditorily. Like it's insane. Like the music changes,
really
the sound
impressive.
effects like say the same, like, and it fucking, for me, it ran quite smoothly. Like pretty much everything is 1-to-1 redone. So like I had to go back and I think rewatch or reread some stuff about the story, because even in like the pre-rendered cutscenes, you could swap between them on the fly. They're not perfectly synced, But like just doing that direct comparison of them, I was mostly just like flipping. I was like hitting the tab button like every 5 seconds, being like, "Holy shit!"
That's just a cool thing to see.
Between all this, like it's so cool. Just seeing like the difference of like the pre-rendered quality cutscene, not even in terms of just graphics alone, but like actual direction, and it feels like there's more intention of like where the camera's at. You know what I mean? Like I feel like just by having that, I was able to have that level of appreciation for this remaster. Even without playing directly, like both of them separately, you know what I mean? By just being able to flip between the two of them on the fly. Like there were also some darker lit areas where I couldn't see as much shit going on in like the remaster, so I would flip to the fucking the original where the lighting was a little bit less dynamic, but I could like see easier, so I just like did stuff in that for a little bit. It's really interesting. Genuinely, I've never seen that in a video game. I think it's really cool that this game was able to do it. I understand why it's not a commonplace. I can only imagine how difficult that might be to pull off, because for one, you would have to have a one-to-one recreation of it, in terms of like everything physically needs to be in the exact spot. Everything needs to be moving in like the same speed, from like your character to the enemies to the vehicles to like the fucking like the actual bullets, laser bullets flying in the air. It's really impressive. It's genuinely really cool. And so that's cool. Obviously, again, like the pre-rendered cutscenes are a little bit out of sync. Like the subtitles, like you'll swap between them and it'll take a minute for the subtitles to appear, because it's like I guess it just doesn't know where it's at yet, so it needs like a few seconds to adjust or whatever. So again, that's cool and unique. It's something that it does. The one thing, the Master Chief Collection, for whatever reason, I have a 2-monitor setup. I want to play it on monitor 1, which has the I guess more ideal aspect ratio and also better visuals overall. But for whatever reason, the Master Chief Collection, whenever I was booting it up for this most recent session of things, it would go to the other monitor, and I couldn't swap it. I had to play the entire game in a borderless window, or bordered window, which is slightly less than ideal, but it wasn't that big a deal, because it's not like the most graphically intensive game. Even the anniversary version, it's a 12-year-old game by this point, the remastered. So not the biggest deal, but just something weird about the collection. Like, why the fuck? Because again, for that, I was not the only one with that problem. I looked it up, and everybody was like, "Yeah, it keeps going to the wrong monitor for some reason." I was like, "Bro, why can't these video games just fucking like? How do you have this unique problem?" I feel like it's not that complicated. Just fucking go to the other one. You know what I mean? Man, whatever. Because it's weird. I don't think it happened for me, even though I'm like using the same launcher of the Master Chief Collection. I don't think it happened to me when I was playing 1. So that's something. Do you have takes on 2? It's probably been a long time since you've played this one, right?
I've only played 3 onward. I still haven't played the first 2. Yeah. Okay. And I haven't gone through the Master Chief Collection, so haven't gotten to play the remastered versions either. Yeah. So I might have to now that you're going through them.
I was very surprised by it, like as far as improvements go, because I was expecting like a fucking Uncharted type situation where it's like I play the first game, it's like, oh, okay, well, people don't really like the first game too much, and I don't really like the first game at all, so surely the second one, which is what everybody loves about it, is going to be way cooler. Except for me, it was not, and I don't like Uncharted 2 that much. I was sort of fearing that, honestly, but I think it is. This one is really cool. Like at the end of the day, it's still that same overall gameplay structure. It's not my favorite thing in the world ever. Like, for some people, this is like their bread and butter. This is like their favorite solo player video game experience. It's definitely not that for me, which is fine. I enjoyed it for what it was, and I appreciated, I think, a lot of the things that it had going on for it uniquely to it compared to 1, and, appreciating all of its improvements that it made upon the first game. So that's cool. I'll probably play the other ones at some point. So
I'll have more to talk about then.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, on to the music section. First recommendation coming to you for Feeble Little Horse. They just dropped another project called Bitnot. This is a sort of indie twee, really lo-fi indie rock project. It's really kind of short and playful and kind of whimsical, but really interesting production. The guitars are super crunchy and kind of blown out, and the drums are also similar, but it all fits in this cohesive little package. That's a pretty fun, short listen, definitely worth checking out. Another one from Navy Blue, who just released a great album last year, and already following it up with a new one, Surrender. This is really good, consistent work from him. Still in that sort of drumless, abstract hip-hop vein, really kind of methodical and smooth, really cool writing. I love how poetic his prose is. Kind of an interesting sort of overarching narrator that is kind of just speaking poetry. It sounds really like James Earl Jones. I think that's who is the narrator, and it kind of helps create this cohesive listening experience. Definitely another great project from him. Another great project from Vince Staples, Crybaby. This is him going in a rap rock direction, which is maybe not my favorite project from him, but it's very catchy, kind of energetic, punchy, and really kind of melodic tracks, much more so than he normally does, with some great commentary on modern issues. Definitely another short, kind of fun project to check out. Definitely another good one from him. And a great album from Olivia Rodrigo, You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love. Her new one and her third album. This is probably my favorite from her. I think she's just gotten better, and this one is just a beautiful blend of pop rock and new wave, some jangle pop elements. It's just pulling from a bunch of great influences and really building upon them, doing her own thing with it. Some great songwriting. The album structure is really cool, with the first half being much more kind of poppy and lovesick songs, and then the second half being more melodramatic and full of almost breakup songs. So definitely a great album overall from her. Very excited to see what she does next, because she seems like she's always improving. Another one to point your way from Bedouin, Neon Summer Skin. This is pretty simple Baroque folk, kind of chamber pop, stuff like that. Very smooth, easygoing, kind of jazzy and almost lounge type music. Nothing too crazy, but some really warm tunes that are just get better on re-listen. Honestly, it's been growing on me. This album came out a little earlier this year, Halo by Tiffany Day, but I wanted to point your guys' way if you haven't already listened, because it's just a great electro-pop album, super catchy, great production. All of the drum work and the beats are great. Ton of great electro house elements to it. Just great danceable, super catchy and energetic. Also like some great songwriting as well. Definitely a cool project. Excited for whatever she does next. Another album from Madian, Victory. This is a more interesting take from him. He's been mostly doing kind of EDM and electropop stuff. This one is maybe a little more almost punk inspired, some rave influences. Also probably indie sleaze revival elements. It's been very hot this year. A lot of interesting albums coming out of that scene. And this one is another one. Not my favorite from him, but some good catchy songs, pretty cool aesthetic to the album, and it all is pretty cohesive as a listening experience. So worth checking out. And then another album from Beth Orton, The Ground Above. This is a really kind of beautiful, lush art rock album. Very kind of don't know, it's almost sophistopop oriented, kind of groovy and also dramatic and beautiful. A lot of interesting themes about love and aging and just existential meanderings. Pretty cool album from her. And then finally, another album from Kelsey Lu, So Help Me God. This is just a huge album, very lush and meandering and almost glacial in its pace. Very kind of beautiful art pop, a lot of very kind of slow and reserved art pop that just builds and is really interesting in its song structures. Pretty big album, but worth checking out if you're in the mood for some kind of wide and encompassing tunes that are very kind of easy to get lost in. But that takes us to the end of the music reviews. Have you been reading anything on your end, Drew?
No, mostly just catching up with Kingdom. I think maybe by next time I'll have some things to say. Maybe I'll be caught up next time. I'm not sure. I was like more than 100 chapters behind, and now I'm a little bit less than 100 chapters behind. So I mean, we'll see.
Nice.
It's a long read compared to other manga.
Yes, it is. On my end, like I said, I sort of got back into comics because of Supergirl, and so
because it was so good, it made you want to go back and check out all the other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically, the comic that it was adapted from, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, Tom King. Tom King is not necessarily one of my favorite comic book writers, but he has some cool series that I have checked out, specifically his Batman run. But this is probably my favorite thing from him. The art is excellent, super beautiful artwork. I can't remember who the artist is, but it's, like I said, a bit of a retelling of the True Grit story, and it just is much better in this format. The format of the movie is there's a time constraint. It all takes place in essentially 3 days, and the comic, it takes place over months and many months, and so it just helps to reinforce the idea that the relationship is growing and ever expanding, and there's actually a lot of stakes that have been built up between Supergirl and this young girl that she's essentially taken across the universe. And so that just made it more believable. I bought into the relationship, which is really the kind of the focal point of the entire series. So that was much stronger in the comic for me. The villain is also much stronger. I like how he is essentially just a nobody. He's kind of built up as this figure of immense evil by the main protagonist. Oh, that's another thing. The comic book is told from the perspective of Ruthie, who's the side character, but it's also she's narrating it from the future. So there's that added element to the narrative where you get kind of glimpses into the future by her reminiscing about things that have already happened but have yet to happen in the actual frame of the story. So that it genuinely does add to it, because how you're looking at Supergirl as a figure is tainted by, or colored by, it coming through this character who is not super. She's just a girl, and it's definitely much more of a kind of intimate relationship in that way. But yeah, there's just a lot of elements that I think are much better in the comics that they changed and made worse in the movie. So worth checking out if you're interested in getting a better grasp of the story. And it's definitely worth checking out almost purely for the art, because it is really beautiful. But yeah, just generally better told, more interesting dilemmas and encounters in the comics. Yeah, just better on all fronts. And then I also was going through catching up with all the absolute runs. So those are all just as great as always. Yeah, just wanted to mention that if you're
They're still ongoing.
watching, yeah,
Because they only started last year, right? And how long typically do these sorts of
the interesting thing is
comic series go on for?
because the absolute run is now more popular than the mainline DC. They're gonna continue doing it for I assume as long as they can. I'm not completely sure as to what their plans are, but I do not see specifically like the big runs of Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman ending anytime soon.
I think they're gonna make like an Absolute Aquaman or like an Absolute Flash.
There's already Absolute Flash. There's Absolute Martian Manhunter, which Absolute Martian Manhunter is one of the coolest series like I've ever read. The format of it is super weird and trippy, and it plays with the format of comics and how things are plotted out on the page. And it does weird kind of cool meta things by like asking you to like lift up the pages and like look at them through light, and in order to see through and kind of get a double image. It's really, really cool stuff. And the art is fantastic. So I would. It's also interesting because it doesn't read like it's at all in the DC universe. It's almost like a psychedelic, trippy noir. Like you're following this character who is essentially an FBI agent that has like lost it, and you're not sure if he's like schizophrenic or like just having an absolute mental crash out. But it turns out that he's becoming entangled with the Martian Manhunter, which is in the regular DC comics, he's a Martian from Mars who has telepathic powers, as strong as Superman. He can go intangible. He's a shapeshifter. He's like one of the most busted characters in the DC universe on Earth. And then in the Absolute universe, it seems like he's much more of like almost like a metaphysical thing. It's something that it's like a telepathic force that has taken over the FBI agent's mind and is essentially trying to help him, but is also causing a lot of harm because there are now targets. And it's a really cool exploration of that, with some great art and stuff like that. So, very cool stuff.
I'll probably get to reading those Absolute things at some point because I am interested in those. Out of all because obviously for comic books, there's a lot of shit circulating and involving them. There's hundreds of years, there are 800 years worth of a backlog with them. But obviously novels, there's a lot more or whatever.
Yeah,
but for comic books, there's
to
a
get
shit
into
ton.
because it's an absolute run. So definitely worth checking out.
They're newer and people are actually
Batman's
talking about them.
Yeah, that is true.
All right. Well, that's the books then, question mark?
That is the books.
Okay. You want to talk about the Nintendo Direct?
Yeah.
If we could transition into the YouTube section. Before we talk about the thing we both sort of care about, I just want to briefly say some stuff about the Direct that I care about in the form of the Xenoblade announcements. These things are slightly old news by the time we're uploading this video, of course, because the Direct aired like 3 weeks ago or close to a month ago from when this video is gonna release, but like, man, whatever. But anyways, I hit fucking cut instead of copy on my notes, so I have to undo a bunch of shit. Okay, here we go. So yeah, anyways, for Xenoblade, they announced enhanced editions. They announced fucking Switch 2 editions for 1, 2, and 3 for 4K 60 FPS, which those were very needed for those stuck at 1080p and maybe like 720p in handheld mode. And the big thing is the 30 to 60 jump in frames per second is a big deal. They've already released the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the first game, so now you get the full title being Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Nintendo Switch 2 edition, because that's how video games are now. And it's already come with some problems. They did a Switch 2 edition of Xenoblade X, which was also supposed to do 4K 60 FPS. I forget all of the specific details involving that one, but it wasn't like a true 4K 60 FPS. It was like less consistent, more like 40 FPS consistently, sometimes 60, I think. And then the actual 4K graphics were like not really like they were technically 4K, but it was like upscaled in like a not super clean way. From my understanding, with one, they've done a slightly better job where it's a more reasonable and like more slightly higher quality upgrade there, though it's still not perfectly what gamers are looking for in terms of it. I haven't actually gotten it yet. I would like to revisit one at some point relatively soon, but the Xenoblade game that I want to revisit the most right now is 2. So I'm sort of awaiting the upgrade to that, and hopefully that goes over even better to 1, because it sounds like, again, for X it was not so great, and then for 1 Switch 2 edition it's slightly better, so maybe they'll keep making it better, or they'll just be on the 1 Switch 2 edition, who knows. But they also tried to like bundle some other things in with it, so I think 3 has like not only enhanced graphics and frame rate, but it also has like a fucking top down like roguelike Vampire Survivors game mode. I wasn't really sure what to make of it. I only saw it for like the trailer only showed it for like 5 seconds, so like that looked interesting. Xenoblade 2 adds I think a new blade, essentially like a new party member character thing, and maybe like a few quests or like a few challenge battle things, and like a fucking new outfits for Pyramithra, so we have that to be excited for, I guess. And then 1 added like a racing thing where like you get like this fucking hovercraft vehicle that you get to ride around, and like it's just sort of weird. It just like it looks like it breaks the game in terms of its pacing. Like one of the more common complaints, I guess, about 1 is that its areas are too big and it takes too long to traverse it, which back when I played it for the first and then second time, like those weren't really things that I was feeling, because I just enjoyed playing it that much. I was cool just like walking along this time, though I'm sure if I went back to it now, I would definitely feel that. So I think overall it's something fine to add to it, though. Just like looking at gameplay footage of it, it does look like it butchers like the original fucking design philosophy a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's out of the control of the fucking original people who worked on it. It just is. I don't know. It looks weird and it's a bit silly, but it's people enjoy it. There's like a mini game or like online mode to it or whatever. So I'll probably check that out at some point, though. And then they announced a new Xenoblade game, not called Xenoblade 4, but it was called Xenoblade fucking, I didn't write it down. Xenoblade, the blade that forgot her name, is probably what it's called, I'm guessing.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks interesting. It looks unique. When they were showing the trailer for it, I don't know if you saw it, but it did not look like a Xenoblade game. It looked like some anime JRPG open world thing, but it was taking place at like an academy for part of it, and then like it looks interesting still. And there's a lot separating it from Xenoblade, like all of the world stuff and creatures that they've shown so far. It doesn't look like there's any overlap with that across the Xenoblade games, because pretty much every Xenoblade game has like the same like set of monsters that you go up against for like normal enemies. So it looked like it looks like it to have a unique setting in multiple ways, again because of the school and also like the environments of the like what enemies make them up. So I feel like it would have been a maybe better opportunity to name it something like Xeno something else, because like in the overarching series you have Xenosaga, Xenogears, Xenoblade is like the newest ones. So I feel like this is the time where you like make a new series from the Xeno fucking franchise. But I don't know, they didn't go for that. I guess it's called Xenoblade, some shit person who forgot the title. So that's that. I'm looking forward to that, and I hope that the Xenoblade 2 and 3 enhanced editions, the Switch 2 enhanced editions, go a little bit better than ones slightly. That would be nice. But anyways, if we want to transition into a thing that we both know about, which is the new Fire Emblem, they showed some more details for that. What do you think about those new trailers?
There's been a couple, and I'm looking forward to it. I
Hmm.
know you just recently played through Three Houses, and we have things to say about the gameplay
Yep.
itself, but the world and the writing was always my favorite aspect of it.
Yep.
And so it looks like they're just doubling down. I like the idea that, we're not still in Volan. We're kind of expanding and going to other continents with other uh,
Yeah, I
history.
think that's great.
I don't know when the timeline is. We still don't know yet.
Yeah, we
But
still don't know. Like people have concluded that it's in the future because the
yeah,
calendar is set in the future, but it's actually technically using a different calendar
right. So we
from
still
the other
don't know.
country. So
Hmm. But
it's interesting
either
though.
way, I'm glad that it's not going to be, rehashing similar character or the same characters, but expanding upon the world and making kind of different takes on similar, themes from the first one.
Yeah, for sure. Again, like for me, it's a big mix of, um, I'm sure they will nail the story, and the world building and the characters. I'm sure they'll do a good job at all that. If it had to be at all similar to Three Houses, you know what I mean. If you had to borrow anything positive from it, I would say those things. But in terms of like its gameplay, it looks very similar. It's
Mm,
bringing back combat arts. It has crests. It has, it looks like there's a hub where you recruit characters. So you'll get like a set of them at the beginning of the game. And then, like, after a few chapters, you could just like recruit whoever you want. And that's, it's a very different way of from a developer point approaching Fire Emblem. I do overall prefer the ones where it's you sort of assemble the army over time rather than from the beginning. I mean, like in some ways it enhances replayability because you could pick up different people at different times, or just like all together. Maybe you don't get anybody. Or like a particular person on a certain run, and then you get them on a different one. There's theoretically things to enhance replayability there, but I'm also worried. Like again, it's a real mixed bag with me watching these trailers, and I'm like, I'm
mm,
excited for this thing, but I'm not excited for this thing because it's like, um, if it is going to be this much similar to Three Houses,
and
it's
yeah,
going to have like
the same
the
issues.
maps all be the same. I'm hoping
Hmm.
the maps to be better. It's like I mean, it's some of the worst maps in the series, right? Three Houses.
Hmm.
They're repeated. Almost all of them are repeated across like each route. Um, so you have layers to of improvements that can be made and should be made upon that. It looks like they're going to have dungeons to explore and have like battles in them, a la Echoes, Shadows of Valentia, is what people were comparing it to. That could be cool. I think it would be more interesting than Three Houses, where you get the monthly calendar and then you like decide some days to go in battle and do like skirmish battles where you're again fighting on the same maps 3 times in a row, or and then you like decide to go to the monastery and fucking feed a billion people. Like I'm worried because I don't want the monastery to be a thing again. You know what I mean? In the sense
Hmm.
that you're spending so much time outside of combat. But I'm kind of thinking that's where this game is leading. It's going to lean a little bit more into the, not completely necessarily go all on the casual side of things, but I
Hmm.
think it will definitely try to capitalize more so on the Three Houses audience, right? Because between Three Houses and Engage, you have a very big divide in
Right.
players' thoughts and feelings. You have a lot of people very passionate about Three Houses, and then they dislike Engage. You also have a lot of people who really dislike Three Houses and really like Engage. You also have, people who don't like both or like both. Obviously, I like both overall. I just have more things to complain about when it comes to Three Houses. So again, they have a million things to improve upon. They can make combat arts more interesting and the balance between physical and magical units better, because that was another thing going on with Three Houses, especially the male units. They would get completely screwed over because of the class options for magical units. And then also there's the idea that with combat arts, you deal more damage, and magical units don't get those. They could use physical weapons with that, and there's some magical combat arts which help the magical characters do their stuff, but they're not actually using magic to defeat things. If they are using the magic based combat arts, they're still using a lance to fucking kill the enemies and stuff. So and there's the entire class system, which is broken and stupid and just like all over the place, and it's just like too much freedom. Like if everybody has the option, then everybody is going to go Wyvern. Like you have to limit it in some way and like make it more interesting. Like I don't care if you bring back the Band-Aid solution of like the old games where you only have particular seals to like promote units into a thing. So like maybe you do have a system where anybody can be anything, but you can only have so many of them at a time. You know what I mean? Like you get a Wyvern seal that promotes or changes a class into a Wyvern. You only get like 2 of those in the whole game or something, and then you have like a character start as Wyvern. You know what I mean? Because they're never gonna fix that fucking issue of Wyverns being the best unit. And it's been that way for every game. For almost every game in the series, the Wyvern is the best class in the game.
It's all come down to the balance of how you restrict access to the Wyverns.
No, yeah, exactly. That's how you balance the game. And that's why Three Houses, in part, was not that. Because Wyverns were pretty much free to everybody. They had limitations of, this person's bad at axes and maybe bad at flying. But you could still even get them into the Wyvern class without, like, a huge amount of effort. Like, it was still possible. So yeah, it's a big mixed bag for me. Graphically, it looks much better than Three Houses. Again, not that that's much of a comparison. It even looks better, I would say, than Engage, which was a big step up from Three Houses visually and still on the same system. And that's something we should expect. Not necessarily something the series needs. It's not what the series is known for. It's beautiful graphics, but I did think overall people feel quite passionately, at least about the Game Boy Advance animations. People love those. I think the 3DS games, the sprites and the actual like portrait artwork looks really great, given the caveat of the like resolution like limitations of the 3DS. So the game looks good visually, like in terms of graphics, it looks better. And I just, I'm hoping and praying, I got my fingers crossed about like literally every single issue of Three Houses. I hope they resolve it. I hope they create the pinnacle of the series where it combines the best, sort of type of story with the best overall gameplay. Maybe not necessarily the best in both, because that's a lot to ask for. But someone that meets very solid ground in both, because its most recent entries had Three Houses, very good story, characters, world, and then bad gameplay and maps and class system. Meanwhile, Engage is the complete opposite: bad characters, bad story, bad world, great gameplay, classes. Some people don't like the class system in it, but I do. And then maps are also way better. So if they could learn from their mistakes or whatever and fix all their shit, then I think we will have a really awesome game on our hands. It's just a matter of, oh man, I don't know.
Hopefully
it's hard.
Took the right lessons from Engage, because it was
or
divisive.
They'll keep all the same mistakes.
Hopefully they didn't just be
It'll be Wyvern Emblem
people
2
didn't
all
like
over
it.
again.
We're just gonna go back to Three Houses and do everything the same.
Yeah. All right. It looks cool though. Other thing we have to say, it was the Summer's Game Fest, so they had some announcements, and I think part of that was Persona. They showed off some things in the form of they have 4 Revival, which we expected by this point. They'd shown it off, I think last year by this point, right? And it may have gotten leaked before then, maybe as early as like when Persona 3 was announced. I'm trying to remember. I have no idea. I might be making that up. But Persona 4 Revival, it looks, graphically, is it better than, Golden or even the original? Yes, that's true. Mostly. Some of the lighting, I've seen screenshot comparisons and stuff, because, everybody loves being on the doomer mindset when it comes to remasters and remakes, which I get it. Is Persona 4 the most deserving of one of those? Not necessarily, though. I think as somebody who played it, I think 3 years ago now, just like a little bit before we started doing this podcast, so maybe like 2.5 years ago, I think it can definitely use a remake. I think its dungeons, going through them, was really boring and repetitive. I don't know if they're going to make too many strides to improve upon that. It looks as though it's like an easier version of the game, just like Reload was for the original, where it's getting rid of Reload got rid of like the fucking what's the term, fatigue. It got rid of like the fatigue system or whatever it was called, and it added those the theurgy attacks where it's like over time your character built up a super powerful ultra move that kills everything on screen, and so you would just save that for the bosses or mini bosses and defeat the like mini bosses in one hit or whatever. And it looks like 4 Revival has something similar in that regard. What I am most curious about, which is stuff that they haven't shown yet, is how they address or adapt or change or don't change at all some of the more controversial aspects of the game that were, I don't know if they were necessarily controversial on release, but definitely over time as more people overseas have played it, I think it's become a much bigger deal, and especially the issues that they're tackling are interpreted to be things that align more closely with things happening in the modern era. That's the main thing, though, is the interpretability of it, because it's like, in Japan at that time, they're trying to have certain characters go through certain things, which mean very specific cultural things going on, which is different from what America right now is necessarily going through. So it'll be interesting seeing the discourse for all that when it's coming out for like so many characters, for like Risei now to Kanji, like they all have shit that's gonna spark something. So I don't know. I'm curious for that, and it's not a game necessarily that I'll play at launch, I don't think, because again, I just played it 3 years ago. But maybe at some point I'll pick it up if it has enough going forward or different about it. I don't know necessarily what you would improve about it beyond visuals and making the dungeons more interesting, which from my understanding they haven't really improved that too much anyways. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. I don't know if you had any takes about Persona 4 Revival. Is that what it's called? Revival? I think so.
Yeah, I was honestly kind of shocked because I hadn't been keeping up with the remake news as heavily as I am with P6, but I remember playing Persona 4 Golden when it came out. That was just like 2020, and I thought that was the remaster, but I guess we're getting another one. But yeah, I always liked Golden. It's honestly one of my favorite Personas. And excited to see another remake, I guess. But I don't know if I'll play it unless it's doing something unique and they redo some of the stuff, I guess. But I don't know. It didn't seem like there was much to add to it. So I guess it's
with like Reload, they changed a decent amount. I'm not sure how much they're doing with this. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, it seemed like a pretty polished game, Golden. So I guess we'll see what they end up.
The side quests sucked ass, so they could actually improve those. A lot of the side quests suck in Persona 4, and I think even in the older versions of 3, and they're slightly better maybe in Reload, but nobody talks about those because they only care about the waifus. Which teenager am I going to date? Oh my god, fuck! I got to fucking decide. Holy shit, my waifu, and then you're going to war about it or whatever. Man, that's how these people on the internet are.
That's how it's gonna be.
Yep. All right, so that's 4 Revival, and then they also did like a little bit more of a teaser for 6, where we're not really getting much of anything other than it's green, which is a big disappointment. I wanted that shit to be orange, but instead it's green. So that fucking sucks. I like
green. I'm down for green. We already got.
I'm not. I'm
RGB.
I was gonna say I'm pirating. I'm fucking what's the term? I'm boycotting. Make it orange, or orange. I'm boycotting.
No one likes orange. Bro,
orange. I'm gonna kill myself.
Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's not much really shown for it.
Nope.
It was just like a green. What even was it? It was like a graveyard, or it was like a bunch of. I don't even remember. I should have rewatched it.
It was giving me SMT vibes, but I mean, that's not out of the ordinary for an Atlas title. So I don't know. There's like ghosts and shit, maybe.
Hell yeah. Do we have any like major predictions or hopes or desires for it? Do you have any?
Not really. I mean, I've seen some of the leaks for the Pro Tag, and some people are up in arms, but I think it looks fine. But yeah, there's not like a ton of stuff.
Are their school uniforms green or something?
Nope.
Or his hair color is green?
His hair color is not green. Green's just the theme. It's like golden is, I mean, Yu is not, he doesn't have golden
That's true,
hair.
he's gray. It was a kanji who
And
had
none of
golden
them.
hair, so there's probably a different party member who's got
Oh, they must be
green hair. There's gotta be a thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. They could go all sorts of directions with it. Obviously, one of the hopes that some people have is like, stop making it take place in high school, make it college or like people older. And like I think that can be cool. Definitely, I doubt the
hmm
series would go for that though, because I think it's so ingrained in like, I mean, Persona 1 or 2 weren't one of those not high school, or were they both
Uh,
high school?
t- they all start in high school.
Okay,
Two has like there's a
the
second year
sequel.
protagonist in two and the sequel. So it was like because you started in high school and then things happen. It's not as ingrained in two. But yeah, I don't
Sure.
know if they're gonna switch things up anytime soon. It's kind of the thing that they're known for.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think they're leaving Japan as a setting either. But I know some people have been like, oh,
Yeah,
but
that
maybe
might
it's in
also
a
be a hope by people. Make it take place in America. That's funny. Um, yeah, no, I mean, like, there's all sorts of directions it could go. The thing about five that made it, I think, so great is the balance of like time management system has never been better. And like the amount of things you could do and like the combinations of you doing them and like figuring out the structure of your schedule, I think was the most interesting in that game. So if they continue with that, and then I mean, it's sort of like a Fortune's Wheel type situation. If they combine the things
hmm
that the various Persona games before it, have done before, like there's that common consensus of, oh, Persona 5 has the best gameplay, 4 has the best characters, 3 has the best story, or whatever, which part of that's true in some regards. So if they take the best aspect of, again, each of those things, that you get the better time management with the better story than 5, because like 5 stories overall, it's good for a video game, though I do think that 3 beats it out, and maybe even 4 does as well. So there's definitely improvements to make upon games in the past, even though a lot of them are considered to be very highly regarded. And yeah, I mean, it's big shoes to fill. I guess it's been a very long
hmm
time since Persona 5's come out. They milked the fuck out of that. So once we get this released, we get to enjoy the milking for another 15 years, I guess, of Persona 6, whatever it will be. So I guess I'll have to see green for the next, however long of my life. So that'll be something.
Yeah, Persona 5 was their cash cow. It let them, one for me. Then they got to make Metaphor, and they got to do
Hmm.
something new. And
Yeah.
now you get your remakes, so that's even more money. And now 6, I think, I feel like they could do something new again. I'll be interested to see if they try and replicate exactly what they captured in 5 and kind of becoming the zeitgeist. But I'm more hopeful that they kind of do something new. But
Oh, yeah.
we'll see.
Hmm. All right. That's pretty much all our takes on that. Did you have any other YouTube thingies?
Nope. Oh, actually,
Cool.
new Emblem
Oh.
video just dropped about.
Oh, shit.
Funnily enough, it's super coincidental. It's about the assassination of Garfield, the president, and I was just having a conversation about presidential assassinations, and he just dropped a video. So, and it's
That's
excellent.
nuts.
Another banger
That's
from
cool.
him. So
It
definitely check
came
that
out earlier today or something.
Yeah, literally like a few hours ago.
That's awesome. I love that dude's stuff. He makes the greatest videos ever on the platform.
He
Or
does.
I don't know. He's like top 10 YouTubers for me,
Yeah,
probably.
this one is insane because like, what's
Nobody
James
cares about that. I didn't
Garfield?
even know
No
Garfield
one knows
was
about James
assassinated. Nobody
Garfield,
cares.
but his story is insane. He was like the Messiah, and he could have done such
What?
great things. It's
What do you
nuts.
mean?
He's like a fucking Matt Damon in fucking Good Will Hunting. He's like he's the penniless genius who becomes president for he
That's
didn't
epic.
even want it. It was
He
forced
was the
upon
main
him,
character.
and he was progressive. He was woke, but
Dude, that's awesome.
he was killed through an assassination attempt and complete ineptitude. The video does it so much more justice than I can.
That's
It's
crazy.
actually nuts how much shit went down in his life. But yeah, another banger
Well, I
episode.
look forward to watching that. Um, That's it though? Question mark.
That is it.
Okay, cool. This video is over. Thank you for watching. See you in the next month. Bye.